The following is rated TV MALSV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
Feels great. Feels great to be back here. Hope you guys miss me, but yeah, it feels great to be back in action. And obviously, be back talking to the media. So,
you were outspoken while you were out. How was that dealing with that part?
Say it again.
How was it navigating just being out, and not being able to participate like you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean it's hard. You know, I love football. Been playing since I was 4. You know, it's hard being away from ball. So, just had to keep my mind right and just lock in.
I'm learning to be a leader. I would say just growing up. You know what I mean? Going into year 3, I played a little ball, so just taking that next step into doing some of those things and trying to step up and be the guy.
Want to need that voice, because I don't know if that's necessarily Montez Sweat's style. Like, does it feel like there needs to be a leader?
I mean, there's different ways of leading. Obviously, like for me, when I watch Montez, he's leading in that way. I'm following him. So there's different types of leaders. We have, obviously now we got Grady Jarrett who can lead by example and vocally. So yeah, I think a defensive line definitely needs a guy, you know what I mean, that can step up and let you know.
What did you know about Grady before he came here?
A lot. Yeah, I know a lot about Grady. Grady is one of those guys, as well as Montez. It's crazy that I'm playing with both of them now. Both of those guys. That's growing up. Like middle school, high school, I watched a lot of like D linemen, and I would like turn on turn on some of those type of guys' tape before high school games and stuff like that, just to see. So I know a lot about Grady.
I've been in a program, you know, Kirby Smart and all that, where the details is the main thing, but I've never been where it's like we're gonna go inside that detail and fix that. So I feel like the details that they are trying to installing us will help us on the field and kind of off the field with how we process everything.
What do you see of Caleb now as he enters year 2 in the league?
A lot of growth. You can tell he's on his A game every day, because I know he probably gets it the most out of everybody, because he's the quarterback and he wants to be perfect in himself, and then the staff wants him to be perfect to lead his offense.
What ways do you see growth?
Just taking control of the huddle, knowing his playbook, and just being a leader that he is at the quarterback spot.
In the last 2 years, you've got another receiver drafted in round 1, and then this year, somebody taken in round 2. What is your role in helping their development?
Well, their role, they keeping me young. Even though I ain't that old. In the room, they are like, Rome just turned 23 today. Happy birthday to him. But just seeing them just follow behind my lead and just grow from there. Rome's taking a step this year, I can already tell. And then who we drafted in the second round, I can't wait to see what he do. I seen him in rookie minicamp doing a lot of things, so that's that.
I am so fucking psyched to do this show tonight. Steven Zimmerman and the Tooch are in the house. Zim in that beautiful high definition picture, really, really nice. And Tooch in his
Aaron Mikulski's basement, Council Bluffs, Iowa.
Exactly. I love it. Holy cow! I'm looking in the private chat here, and Zim has a lot of shit up on that. I gotta look at what all this shit is. Look at, is that new? I got on the private chat, I've got stuff from May 28th.
I'm not showing that either.
You're not showing that. That's weird. I got a real weird bug. Anyway, let's talk about me.
You and your bugs.
Me and my bugs. Man, I'm just so happy. What happened today and yesterday at Hallis Hall has got me so psyched up about this season. What I am seeing and hearing, mostly hearing, is I'm just really fired up. I see you, Zim, nodding your head. Are you got that same level of confidence of, hey, this could happen this year? Playoffs?
I mean, every year, right? Like, it's part of being a Bears fan. That's the cycle of the offseason that we're in at this point, is let's get hyped, let's get ready. But yeah, like, I feel like it's a little more justified this year because, like, it seems like they got it right from an outside perspective is the thing. Like, it's no longer just Bears fans thinking it. It's the rest of the league kind of looking and being like, oh, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
It's still maybe, though. And that's it. It's still maybe.
Yeah, I get you. And it will be maybe until September when they start playing the games for real, and potentially we could start the season off in a good step and win some victories. Tooch, what's your overall feeling? I know you're going to probably touch on this in Bear State of Affairs.
Is it maybe because we've had our hearts broken so many times in the past?
I think that's it. I truly think that's it.
No, I mean, there's absolutely definite hype because of Ben Johnson and his attitude and his leadership and his attention to details. I'm going to hit it all, Bear State of Affairs. And the buzz is fantastic. I mean, we haven't felt this great about a coaching staff. You know, I mean, we've had garbage coaches since Lovie Smith left, since he was fired unceremoniously at 10-6.
Yeah.
So there's definite. You know, we feel like we've got the coach in place. We feel like we've got the quarterback in place.
Yeah.
You know, we'll have to see what else is in place or not in place.
I know you're gonna. I want to talk a lot more about this, but I know you're gonna hit on a lot of these things with Bear State of Affairs. So why don't we get straight to that, and then we can build our conversation off of that. And I know a lot of people have thoughts to share. I will be monitoring the chat room to make sure that you're all a part of this. But we start the show as we do always with Bear State of Affairs with Johnny Santucci's award-winning Bear State of Affairs, and of course my non-award-winning Open.
It's time for John's Bear State of Affairs. He got nothing but true bombs about the Bears. He tells it like it is and always has, and he brings it with a little put sass. No shit talking here, grab yourself a beer. If you have to disagree, he's got a decree. Go fuck your fist, cause you're on his blacklist. Go fuck your fist. You gonna hear the bare truth right now.
Woo-hoo-hoo, yeah, Bears State of Affairs, man. It's Bears 2025 off-season. Week 22 weeks since we had Bears football, but what's happening, Barfly, is...
Hey.
Yeah, well, the Bears are in the middle of mandatory mini camps, which started today, and there's no doubt that the Ben Johnson hype, it's real, Aldo.
It sure is.
Yeah. Yeah, was there any doubt? Really, I mean, this is the same coach who rolled into Chi-Town promising to cut off his own nuts for a Super Bowl trophy.
Ay, Dios mío.
That's right, Heidi. Yeah. And if you doubted in any way that the Ben Johnson hype around Hallis Hall was 100% a real thing, I got proof positive that the Bears are buying into the buzz, Aldo. All 91 players.
That's a W.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, perfect attendance, presented to the Bears. Yeah, George S. Ellis High and Ben Johnson presenting the certificate. All 91 of his players showed up. They couldn't all participate, though. Some were nursing injuries and recovering from surgeries in the offseason. But yeah, all players showed up. Yeah. And by all accounts, players are generally very impressed with the new coaching staff's attention to detail. Yeah, according to Adam John's latest article in the Athletic, yeah, Ben Johnson's obsession with details had taken hold at Hallis Hall. Recently, Bears tight end Cole Kmet felt the wrath of new Bears head coach when he lined up incorrectly. Yeah, Kmet said that he thought he was only misaligned by a yard, but that small missed detail was noted by the Bears head coach. According to Kmet, Johnson is obsessed with details. Quote, what sticks out with Ben and the staff is just how detail-oriented they are.
I love it.
That's right. You could feel that in the meetings. They're relentless on the details, said Kmet. I think that's something that may be a little unique from what we had in the past. I wonder who could Cole be talking about, Aldo? Yeah, a little different from what they had in the past. Yep, no doubt about it. Johnson's fiery personality at practice and at mini camps has been an early storyline this spring. But Johnson's intensity hasn't surprised DeAndre Swift, who played for Johnson in Detroit. Yeah, Swift today said that Johnson looks leveled up after taking over the Bears. Yes, sir, said Swift. Quote, he's more serious because he has to be. He's done a hell of a job. Just seeing him transition even from where it was before, just seeing its growth as a coach and as a man. I'm excited to play for him.
I love the efficiency of bourbon.
Very good. Yeah, he's that sounds like hype, Aldo.
It does, but it's true.
That's right. Yeah, in interviews and press conferences, Johnson has been impressive. It's the kind of leadership the Bears haven't seen around Hallis Hall since Lovie Smith was the head coach. Yeah, yes, it really feels different this offseason. The Bears have made significant improvements to the team. They went out and hired the best offensive coach in the NFL to be their head coach. They improved the offensive line. They drafted and signed more offensive weapons. This new Bears offense feels like it could have one of the best statistical seasons in franchise history under Ben Johnson's leadership. That has Bears fans excited. And this is the best Bears coaching staff in years. You have to love their attention to details. In fact, the new Bears head coach is so focused on details, it became the body language police, Aldo.
That's a W.
Last week news came out that Ben Johnson and his staff talked with Bears franchise quarterback Caleb Williams about his poor body language last season. Yeah, although that's the body language of a guy who was sacked 68 times in a season.
That's right.
Yeah, but Caleb Williams, well, he is the only one who got the body language talk from new head coach Ben Johnson. Yeah. At Bears mandatory minicamp, wideout DJ Moore was also given a talking to by the body language police. You have to love how this Bears coaching staff is concerned about the on-field demeanor of the players.
Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the rules?
Last season, Moore, he walked off the field during an offensive play in a game against the Cardinals, sitting down on the bench before the play ended. This season, that behavior won't be tolerated. Quote, just don't do it, Moore said. Johnson told him, quote, just keep it inside. Talk about it later. Just don't put it on film. Don't put it on TV. Yeah. I wonder who else got the body language talk, Aldo?
I'm so fucking scared right now. You shut up.
Yeah. Quarterback Tyreek Stevenson. He was also talked to about his on-field demeanor last season.
Yes, he was.
Specifically, the Fail Mary play against the Commanders when Stevenson was preoccupied with taunting Commanders fans before the game ended. We all know how that game ended.
He's a fucking idiot.
After that game, Stevenson was forced to issue an apology to his teammates and to Bears fans. Man, I wonder, Aldo, could there be any more Bears players who got the body language talk? Yeah. I wonder if old Jalen Johnson got to talk, man. Yeah, we can forgive Jalen for that one, though, after I was flipping off Packers fans.
I think you're right.
But But this 2025 season, well, Steven Zimmerman knows it all comes down to Caleb Williams. That's right. Yeah, for the Bears to find success this season, Williams has to master Ben Johnson's offense, become the kind of team leader that takes his teams to the playoffs multiple years and ultimately to the Super Bowl.
What?
That's right. Now, regarding Ben Johnson's leadership of the new look Bears, Williams said today, quote, "The ship is pointing in the right direction, and it certainly looks that way." At minicamp today, Williams engineered a 94-yard, 2-minute drive that he capped off with a touchdown pass to rookie running back Kyle Monangai. And earlier in the practice, Caleb lofted a touchdown pass to receiver Olamide Zacchaeus in the right corner of the end zone. As Bears offseason, it's brimming with hope and intrigue. There really is no shortage of stories. In fact, last week, Sports Illustrated writer Gene Chamberlain wrote an article titled, quote, "Ben Johnson's first Bears roster loaded with comeback stories." Let me break this down for you, Aldo.
Okay.
Yeah. After the Matt Eberflus regime, every Bears player on the roster last season is a comeback story. Yes, sir. Last season's squad suffered through a 10-game losing streak and then overthrew their head coach. Yeah. They can only go upwards from here, Aldo. That's Bears state of affairs.
Yeah, baby.
He told it like it is and always will. Listen next week to get an earful of whatever's happening with the Chicago Bears. It always happens here with John's state of affairs. If you have to disagree, he's got a decree. Go fuck your fist cause you're on his blacklist. You just heard the bare truth right here and now. John gave it to you straight cause he's got no sacred cows. If you have to disagree, he's got a decree. Go fuck your fist cause you're on his blacklist. This was John's Bear State of Affairs.
Only one way up, Aldo.
Yeah, that's right. Another masterpiece, as Jeff put it. Great job. I got to tell you, man, you touched on a lot of the subjects we're going to talk about in depth. But Stephen, I want to get you in here. Is there any one thing that immediately came to mind after listening to Bear State of Affairs that you want to comment on? And I'll forewarn you that you are on mute.
Yeah, excuse me, the body language conversation, man. I'm personally tired of it.
Okay.
I understand why it's being had. Don't get me wrong. And I said it earlier today, and I just want to point out like how happy I am that that's the conversation right now, that we're not worried about anything more than how these guys are presenting themselves right now, that we want to make sure that they're keeping themselves true and that they're not overbuying the hype themselves, you know? Like, I love it. I love it.
Let me challenge you on that, Zim. Don't you think that last year, I mean, as it was happening, I was embarrassed for the team, the body language, particularly with DJ Moore on the play that Tooch cited where he went out of bounds and he literally sat down on the bench while Caleb is running for his life on the football field. And there were other instances of Caleb himself. Many of our top players were exhibiting a body language that made me embarrassed as a fan and hating Matt Eberflus. Don't you think that's an issue that needs to be addressed this season?
Yeah, I think they addressed it by hiring Ben Johnson, though. That's my thing. Like, you know what embarrassed me? Like, what embarrassed me was losing 10 straight games. What embarrassed me was putting on my Chicago Bears fan gear every week because they were putting a garbage product on the field. Sure. I don't give a shit about body language. Like, I feel like Chicago's too wrapped up in this because we lived through Jay Cutler, you know, because Jay was the master of horrible body language. Mm-hmm. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. It does reflect poorly on everybody, right? It reflects poorly on the coaching staff. It reflects poorly on the rest of the players on the team. But at the end of the day, none of it reflects as badly as getting your ass whipped. None of it reflects as badly as preemptively celebrating and giving up a Hail Mary. Like, I care so little about how guys are acting on the bench or on the sideline or after a play happens, so long as it's not a George Pickens situation where the clock's winding down and they're too busy celebrating to pay attention, you know, or a Marcus Cooper situation where they're celebrating before they hit the goal line and they lose the ball, you know? So
But you got to nip it in the bud, right? And it was the main story of 2024 was the Tyreek Stevenson play, because immediately after that is when they started that 10-game losing streak, a game that was in hand. They were up with 12 and a half seconds to go, and then Eberflus, of course, makes the mistake with his prevent defense, and then Tyreek Stevenson makes the biggest mistake of the season, that some people kiddingly are putting him on the cover of Madden 25 or 26, whatever it is. So, Tooch, jump in here. You know, do you feel like, hey, we don't need to talk about this anymore because Ben Johnson's been hired and everything is fine?
I think now we can stop talking about it. But I think last week we were kind of like Caleb got the talking to, and this year, this week, actually today or recently, as recent as yesterday or today, it was revealed that other players also got the talk. So you're kind of getting the story of how the coaching staff wants to shape this team, and that's its demeanor. It's going to be more professional. It's going to be more disciplined. It's going to pay attention to both public and private behavior after the game, before the game, during the game, all of it. And like we said, Ben Johnson is shaping this team, and that's what a good leader should do, is, erase the mistakes of the past, which is something he said when he came to Ryan Poles. Are you ready to admit the mistakes of the past, and move on from here? So to me, it's a step in the right direction. I think it can only be a benefit to this team for them. I think it'll make them a little more focused.
Yeah, today at the press conference, today as we're here live, Wednesday, June 4th at 9:30 Central. Earlier today, Tyreek Stevenson was asked about that. I think it was Patrick Finley, and he asked Coach Johnson about it too. And I thought it needed to be asked, but it did feel like, oh, Patrick,
a little bit.
Why you, Patrick? Why couldn't somebody else bring it up? Because he's asked some kind of out of the box thinking questions recently. He's been getting a lot of shit by Bears fans. So I'll lay off, but let's listen to that conversation that Tyreek Stevenson had with reporters regarding what happened yesterday.
Recently.
That's the wrong one.
Are you excited to have a fresh start this year after what happened to you last year and after what happened to the team last year?
Pretty much, yeah. Still with some of the guys from that team last year, and we all want to be the best defense in this. The defense want to be the best defense this year. So I wouldn't say a fresh start. I would just say some of the guys come out with the same mentality. We add some pieces in, add some dogs, and now it's time to hunt now.
Ben said that he hasn't really talked to you about the Hail Mary play last year. Has Al Harris or any of the new coaches been like, so what happened there?
There's really no conversation need to be had. I owned it. It was a mistake. I just happened to play a sport where my mistake is just national televised, and I feel like talking to me and going through the meetings, they can see that I already owned it up to it, and I owe the guys from last year nothing but effort and myself, and they see that I'm putting it in. So there's really no conversation need to be had.
Now, that's a fucking great answer. That's a great answer. She sounded so fucking mature, and I actually just thought this now, and I've heard that 3 times, but it sounded like he was prepared for that question, right? Like maybe he rehearsed it or talked with Bears communication on it.
He's had a long time to think about
it. Yeah, when are they going to give me the talk? I better come up with something at the press conference.
Yep. Now this is Ben Johnson talking about Tyreek, and he's asked the question, did you have a talk with him?
A big storyline nationally. Have you talked to him about it and had a back and forth with him about, hey, what happened here? Hey, you can't do that. Anything like that?
No, I think he learned his lesson from that, and his peers have certainly talked to him about it, and it wasn't really any reason for me or the staff to piggyback on that, because he's learned from it, he's grown from it, and what's in the past is in the past, and we're moving forward.
What do you make of him from what you've seen in practice?
Well, what we love about him is he's got some length and he's not afraid, which I think those are 2 things that you really need to play corner, particularly the style of corner that we're looking for. Guys that'll come up, they'll challenge, they'll get hands-on. Press man-to-man is something that we're going to do a healthy amount of, and we feel like he fits that mold really well. And so once again, he's learning the scheme. There's some different things that DA and Al Harris and the rest of the crew are asking of him, but he's been very receptive so far, and he's a young, hungry player, just like a lot of these guys.
End of the story. We shouldn't bring it up ever again.
Wait. Can I ask you guys a question or a thought, or your thoughts on this? Let's just say that Tyreek, this coming season, his emotions get the best of him. He cost the Bears a game. He's not getting talked to, man? Is he getting jettisoned?
That's a good question. I think that he's too valuable a player. So the scenario is he makes another dumb-headed thing that potentially loses the game or could have lost the game. I would say he would get benched probably, but he'd get an opportunity. I don't think they want to get rid of him. I mean, he's got all the skills to excel at that press corner position and the defense that they're going to run. And he talked about all the details at the beginning of the show during the pre-roll. I put in a soundbite where he talked about, we're talking about the detail of the details. That's how detailed they are. So it's pretty impressive. What do you think, Zim?
I mean, he's a dog. Like, he always has been. He always will be. It's you get the good with the bad with players like that, right? Like, yeah, you hope that you get the good all the time, but I mean, Ocho Cinco, you didn't get the good all the time. Terrell Owens, you didn't get the good all the time.
Very true.
Here on the Barroom Network, you don't get the good all the time, but we deal it like it is, and that's part of what being a dog is about. Is sometimes you get the highest peaks and the lowest valleys all in one.
That is so true. By the way, I got to address something that MC Fact is saying, that DJ Moore was injured on that play that he quit on last year. And that is true. He was limping his way to the bench. But on the very next play, and there was a long break because Caleb, was on the left sideline. He ran all the way to the right sideline while Moore was headed to the bench. And then there was a penalty called on a play, or a call was made on a play with a referee's review. And so he had a while. But my point is, he wasn't that seriously injured because he was in on the next play of the game, and on that route, he was running a go route. So he didn't tell, I can't go. My ankle hurts. I need to sit out another play or whatever. So yes, he was injured, but he wasn't seriously injured enough to walk to the bench in the middle of a fucking play. He thought the play was going to die when Caleb failed to hit him for that short little game to get a first down. He thought the play was dead, that Caleb was going to get sacked, and he circled around, got out of danger, and kept the play going. So I'm not excusing DJ Moore by any means, even though he definitely was hurt on that play. I know I'm making a bigger deal out of that than I should, but nonetheless.
I agree with Cliff. His pride was injured. He said, his ankle hurt. He hurt his ankle, but I mean, whether it was or not, you could go either way on it. But I think I agree with Cliff. Kind of a little injury to his pride.
No doubt. But that's the main theme of today's show: is the leadership that I believe that Ben Johnson is exhibiting. So you see, you're beginning to see that he has a pretty good accounting of what happened to this team last year. That the offense was bad, that the offensive line was the primary problem because of that. Of course, there's, play calling and all that shit. He's not going to talk about that or even hint about that. But that the issues with last year's team had to do with the offense and player morale. He knew that this team, that the coaches lost this team. They fucking lost it. And so he had to come back and repair that confidence in the coaching staff, but also instill a tougher culture where if you are lined up 1 yard off the play where Cole Kmet should have been, he's going to get yelled at. The player's going to stop. Cole, you're out of position. He's going to get that kind of treatment, and that's going to permeate throughout the entire team. This is how championship teams are born. You go back to Lombardi and Hallis. That's the way they they coach these alpha athletes. You got to kick them in the ass and not let them run the roost. There's been this approach in the NFL for the last 20 years is to become more of a player's coach and so forth. And that while that might work, it only works when there's tremendous talent on the team. And then you can let the inmates run the asylum. But a team like this, you hire an intelligent football coach who is a disciplinarian, and we got him in Ben Johnson.
Yeah, they were begging last year to be coached harder.
Exactly.
No, they asked their coaches, "Can you coach us harder, please?" We had the shoe salesman and the gym teacher. They wanted to be the buddies of the players.
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
Yep. Zim, I know you've played baseball, and I know you've done a lot of things in your life where you've been exposed. I'm going to guess here, actually, because I don't know for certain, but that you've been exposed to bad leaders and good leaders. Can you talk about this subject? You did. I didn't yell at you.
Oh, one of your moves now. Jeez.
Look at this guy. Hold on. Podfather, $20. Ding, 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 ding,
right.
ding, 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 ding. Mr. Shorty. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Shorty. Go ahead, Zim.
Cheers to you, Mr. Shorty. As far as the leadership goes, yes, I've had some very good leaders in my life and some very bad leaders in my life. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, what I feel like it comes down to is two things. You sent me a message earlier telling me that leadership was going to be our main point of focus and to think about what it was. Well, one of them immediately came to my mind because one of them is something that I've thought about for the last 10 years, every single day of my life. Accountability. Accountability is the number one trait of a good leader. And number two is understanding. Understanding how to apply that accountability. And understanding goes a lot further than just that, because a lot of people think that being smart or being knowledgeable makes you a good leader. And that's not true at all. I've seen some really stupid people be pretty good leaders. I've seen them be pretty bad leaders too, but that's beside the point. The people that are good leaders and not very smart have a good understanding overall. And understanding is knowing how to apply what knowledge you have, knowing something about your situation, right? And what does Ben Johnson have? Everybody's like, Ben Johnson's so smart. Ben Johnson, he's such a disciplinarian. No, he's not. He understands that's what these guys need to persevere. He understands his own system, and he understands how he's going to teach it to these guys, right? And that's why I say understanding and accountability. He's showing the accountability by continuing to teach these guys on a daily basis. The whole interaction with Cole Kmet last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever that was, is, for all we know, completely staged just to prove accountability. And that could be all it is, because that's what made the captains last year. They were the most accountable guys on the team. They were the first ones saying, hey, my fault, and it's what makes me believe that things have actually changed in the personality and attitude of people like Tyreek Stevenson on this team. Because last year there was no accountability on this team. We saw Matt Eberflus. He was a bad leader, point blank. He came in as a good leader, and he slowly became a bad leader. And why? Because he lost all of his accountability. Over the course of his tenure with the Chicago Bears, he came in being accountable with his hits principle, and then he no longer enforced that hits principle and became completely unaccountable and lost his locker room and became the first Bears head coach to be fired mid-season because he couldn't take the accountability to say, I fucked up.
Yeah.
He doubled down after the Fail Mary.
He did. He did indeed.
We've all had a bad boss. Everybody here has had a bad boss at some point in their life who told you to do the wrong thing and you did it, and then he blamed you for doing the wrong thing.
Yep.
That's not how accountability works.
I've had a bad boss, and I've been a bad boss. So I got you guys beat.
Same here. Nope. Same here. Same here. It took me 10 years to learn how to be a good boss. That's why I say I've been thinking about this every day for the last 10 years, is because that's when I was put into my first management position. It was when I was 22 years old, and I knew nothing about accountability. And the people who put me into that position recognized it because they were good leaders. They recognized it. They understood that, and they helped me learn how to become accountable. And it's something that I've strived to work towards every day. And now that I'm back in a leadership position 10 years later, I feel that I've gained a better understanding of how to be accountable, and I feel that it's allowed me to help my staff succeed in a better way.
That's fantastic, brother. I'll tell you, Ryan Post talked about this at an interview during the offseason. He said, we asked a lot of our players to be leaders, but what we failed to do was teach them how to be leaders. And that was a huge, huge problem with Matt Eberflus. He would talk a good game, not even a good game. He would talk about, leadership and getting players, having players accountable and having them be leaders and so forth. But you just can't throw people into that situation without describing to them what leadership looks like, what are the cornerstones of leadership, modeling that behavior, and on and on. And so when he doesn't take accountability for the failed Mary play in Washington, and Matt Eberflus doesn't take accountability for it, how can he expect his players to be accountable? How can he expect his players to bounce back from a situation like that? It becomes a cancerous situation, and I'm glad that Ben Johnson has recognized it and is working towards correcting it. And I think at this time of the year, it's okay for us to look back at those mistakes from last year and let's bury them, because I truly, truly believe, and I know I'm a little buzzed up right now, so I'm talking out of my ass a little, but I truly, truly believe that we are ascending to be one of the best teams in the National Football League. And it has to do with one guy, this guy. Listen to what he says to the media when he was told about, you're getting this reputation of being a perfectionist.
I've probably seen more bad football than I've seen good football over my time in this league. And so it's trying not to make the same mistakes as the people I've been around maybe in the past that I perceived as mistakes. And I don't think you can let things slide. I think offensive football is about precision. And so it's a constant communication of what that should look like. And when they hit the mark, we love them up. And when we fall short, then we got to let them know so we get it better next time.
What he just said there is the type of shit, and I'm not exaggerating here, that goes in Harvard Business Review books. That's leadership. That's when he talks about the precision of the operation. You could apply that to the McDonald's restaurant, to Tesla factories. It's all about making sure it's right. The example of air traffic controllers has been used a million times. I'll use it one more time. You can't have a fucking mistake. That plane goes down. Hundreds or thousands of people die. And you got to have that same mentality even when you're playing the stupid game of football that we love. Tooch, you want to follow up on that?
No, everything you said, spot on, both you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it feels different. I'm sitting back listening to you guys. I'm like, I don't understand how Matt Eberflus even became a head coach.
No shit, man.
How? In comparison, there's no comparison.
Yep.
Again, it's the accountability and understanding. It was there when he started. He lost it somewhere along the way. The understanding and accountability, I think we can see right in his first season or second season. When did he lose the defensive coordinator? Was that his second season?
Second season.
Okay, but seeing the improvement in the defense after losing their defensive coordinator shows an understanding and personal accountability both to himself and to his players to take on that position and show them that they can still do this, and that's what sold me on keeping him for another year.
Yeah.
And I completely understand why they didn't, but it's just, again, you have to stay true to your values.
They had no swagger last year, Aldo.
Yeah.
That's true. Zim, I apologize. It was in his first season where
I thought so.
Alan Williams.
Yeah. Yes.
the Alan Williams debacle. Yeah.
Yes.
The running back coached was lost too, I think, right?
That same season.
With HR issues.
I need to know what happened with both
don't
of
you
those
want to
guys.
know?
It's HR, God. Man. We'll never know. It's HR.
Never know, but to be a fly on the wall.
You're right, but some enterprising reporter, and I hate to take a shot at our local reporters in Chicago. It won't be them.
Yeah.
It'll be somebody like a Schefter or somebody writing a big book, a Seth Wickersham,
Yeah,
writing
exactly.
a book who's going to find out that Allen Williams was discovered to be jerking off at his Microsoft Surface because there was jism all over. I'm just making that up, people, as a joke.
Meanwhile, the
They
Chicago
paid Brad
media.
Biggs and buffet tickets to cover up the story, Aldo.
That's right.
Meanwhile, the Chicago media is sitting here asking, Cole Kmet's socks, one of them was 1 millimeter lower than the other one. You talked about attention to detail. And
well, I do, again, Zim, I'm not going to pick on you tonight, but we have to do a show. We'll do it like during the quiet parts of the off season here when we don't have so much to talk about. But I do want
when we don't have so many viewers. Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah.
No. Well, we'll make sure there's a lot of viewers because we'll promote the fact that you and I are going to debate, and Tooch will be the moderator about the media's role. And I'm in a minority now. The media is being crucified by everybody, and I still stand up for them because I worked a few years in that industry, and so I kind of know what's going on. But yes, there are a lot of terrible media reporters. So I'm not going to make a defense for that, but there are stupid questions. But for the most part, I think they do a good job.
I don't think it's too after Potsy retired.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think it's necessarily their fault at all. Not to get too far off base and put on a tangent. It's a lot of this sensationalist journalism that's grabbing clicks these days. You know, you get paid by the click. You have to make sure that shit catches people's eyes. Because if you don't have an established fan base like Adam Hogue, how does a thing like CHGO get off the ground? You know, clickbaity titles. And that's just one example. It's not to pick on Hogue or CHGO or anything. It's simply to point out that, you know, that's how you get people to click. That's how you get people interested. And it's how you get things going and moving and how you get your revenue so that you can continue to do the job that you worked so hard to get. So,
yeah,
I think it's a more widespread problem than just the Chicago Bears media. I just think that there's some of the meatballiest ones out there. That's all.
Part of it, because in New York and some of these other major media cities, fans have the same complaints about that media. And I think a lot of it has to do is because just more media people. And so you're going to have more diverse opinions. You're going to have the yellow journalism type reporter. You're going to have the conscientious, journalistic reporter. And in some other towns, you listen to the press conferences in places like Indianapolis, and there's 5 or 6 guys there. And the coach is saying, yeah, it was nice having you guys over for dinner the other day. It's a lot more bosom pals. I think I'm not going to sell that opinion. Anyway,
I got to echo the disciplinarian plus the smart coach. I think is the winning formula this team's been looking for decades.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
I like the fact that every single player showed up for mandatory mini camp. No holdouts.
Where's that certificate again?
Oh, it's in there. Yeah, they're perfect attendance today, Aldo.
Is that Valus Jones up on upper right? And look, because he's looking down and the ball's above him. He's calling for the ball with his left hand.
He's got no fingers, so the ball just doesn't stay there.
Yeah, that's why he never could catch.
That's right.
No hands.
No, I totally agree. Now let's listen to Cole Kmet. He spoke today to the media about mentoring Colston Johnson. Was he surprised when Colston Loveland? Was he surprised when the tight end from Michigan was drafted? And he was asked about the coaches. This is about almost 3 minutes, guys.
Well, I don't know if I've been asked to mentor per se, but I still got things that I got to work on and I got to achieve. I think when I was a rookie, we had Jimmy here, and Jimmy was, I think Jimmy was 32 or 33 at the time, and I don't know if I should say this publicly, but he probably wouldn't have said it then, but probably on the back end of his career at that point. And I don't necessarily feel like I'm at that stage of my career yet. So maybe a little different in that regard. But that being said, getting to know Colston's been great so far, and I want to give him as much knowledge as I can. And give him all the things that I've learned and get him up to pace as soon and as quickly as possible, so that he can go out there and be the best football player that he can be this year and going forward. And so I'm excited about that, and it's been awesome to get to know him here these past few weeks since he's been drafted. And I think he's going to fit just fine in our room and in the offense as well.
What are your thoughts when the team drafts somebody, a tight end at number 10 overall?
Yeah, I think at first you're taken back a little bit, but I mean, Ben was awesome about it in terms of calling me right away and kind of explaining the decision. And, from there, you're just all on board on it, and you kind of understand their vision. And, you understand that there's going to be areas where we complement each other. And then there's obviously, just like in any position room, there's going to be areas where we compete for things, and that's football, and that's how it should be. So I'm excited about it, and I'm excited, to not only push him and then for him to push me, and we're going to make each other better. And, I think the goal with it is to, become the best 12 tandem in the league and see where we can take it from there.
Can you share at all what Ben's message was to you in that call?
Yeah, well, I think just reassuring me of, where I stood in their eyes and things like that. And, we kind of had talked at length more about it later and kind of keep those things private. But I felt good about leaving the conversation. And, I think whenever you meet somebody for the first time, you don't, still getting to know Ben. And, I don't know where he stands on me. And quite frankly, I don't know where I stand with him, like at that point, because you're just meeting somebody. And I think those are healthy conversations to have. And so you just kind of understand their vision and their expectations for you as a player. And because it's hard to come into work every day when you don't know your set expectations. And I think, having those conversations kind of clear the air a little bit.
Well, we've gone through these coaching changes before. What has this one been like, this transition? How do you kind of get to know this whole new staff?
Yeah, well, they've all been different, and they're all different in many ways. And I think what sticks out to Ben and this staff and just in general is just how detail oriented they are. You can feel that in the meetings, and they're relentless on the details.
So that's another part of great leadership. Anybody can come up with great ideas. Anybody can have a great vision for the future, but it's the execution part of that vision and those ideas is executing them to perfection that makes people great. If I've had a million great ideas that I should have made $1 billion on, but I fucked them up or never got to them or whatever. And so I think that's another valuable part of leadership. And I think, this guy, Ben, has it, man. I love it that he's correcting the players. I love it that he's stopping practice. I love it that Tyreek is saying we're looking at details of the details. It's pretty fucking cool, right, Tooch?
Yeah.
Oh, man. By the way, I got a video up about Mike North. It's a tribute to Mike, and I actually made it 3 years ago for his 70th birthday. But since he recently got the Leadership Award or Lifetime Achievement Award from Barrett Sports Media, I redid the ending, updated it a little bit, and I posted it on YouTube per his request. And it's got over 11,000 views now and counting. So if anybody is interested in the career of Mike North, that video does a pretty good job of covering it. We left out some of the bad parts, like him getting arrested for DUI and stuff.
I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for him and the guys on the score, the Monsters of the Midday. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, and I told Greg Braggs, Braggs and I went to see a Bears game together. This was back in 2018. And he was, asking me about getting into the business and so forth. I go, a guy you need to talk to is Mike North. Mike North was, you're a bricklayer. Mike North was a hot dog stand owner. And, I think Greg has a great opportunity to be the next Mike North, and maybe even already is. So good for him.
Yep.
Could be argued that he is. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I wanted to also talk tonight about DeAndre Swift. I was doing some work and I looked at somebody that put together all the big highlights from the 2024 season. And I kept being, surprised a little bit by how many of those highlights were provided by DeAndre Swift. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe we've been a little too hasty with this guy, drafting a running back in the first round, Ashton Genty, or going for somebody in the second round. Now, I'm not saying he is Ashton Genty, or, Ashton Genty wouldn't have been great for this team. But maybe the Bears think that this guy is more than serviceable and could have a really great year. What do you guys think?
Can I jump in here?
Oh, you're the man.
If DeAndre Swift gets injured, there's nothing after him. So this is why I wanted the Bears to draft a running back. I'm pretty sure they tried to draft Travion Henderson. They got clipped by the Patriots.
I agree.
One pick ahead of him. After that, you could tell the demeanor of Ben Johnson. He's like, you need to get me somebody, And right now he's all, praise of DeAndre Swift, which is great because they don't have a choice in the matter right now. He's their guy. He's the number one starter right now. But there's talk of Nick Chubb, Bears being interested in Nick Chubb, coming here, or trading for James Cook was last week's talk. So to me, I think the Bears would be well served to make a move.
Yeah. Well, I think that perhaps I don't know. I've been advocating for the Bears picking up one of these veteran free agents and so forth. But if Kyle Monangai and Roshan Johnson play in preseason at a level where we don't have to spend resources on those guys, on picking up a guy, then I say no. What are your thoughts about DeAndre Swift, Zim?
I've said from the get-go that I don't understand why everybody thinks running back is a big problem. DeAndre Swift ran for nearly 1,000 yards behind maybe the worst offensive line in football last year. So I don't know why we're so worried.
He has been injured and missed time before in the past.
He sure has, and that's a completely understandable concern. And same with Roshan Johnson. Travis Homer is about as durable as they come. While he's not the ideal guy, he's nothing if not reliable. In addition to that, there's always guys who become available during the season. There's always guys who remain available during the season. And there's a handful of guys out there right now that if they were really concerned about it, I think they could go get. There's J.K. Dobbins. There's Nyheim Hines. There's Nick Chubb, who I know is coming off of a surgically repaired knee. So maybe he's a little less desirable. But you still have Josh Kelly, Deontay Foreman, Cam Akers, Dearness Johnson, Chase Edmonds. Plenty of serviceable backs out there. If the Bears were really concerned, they'd go get one of those guys. But the thing is, think of all those names I just listed off and tell me they don't have a guy on their roster right now who's basically the equivalent of those guys. And I think that's why they're not too worried about it right now, is because they've got 5 backs on the roster. Between those 5 guys, they've got basically every running back archetype. And you just kind of have to deal with injuries as they come. It's the unfortunate reality of the NFL. One of these guys is going to get hurt at some point or another, and it's a matter of whether the next man up can handle it or not. And right now, it seems like they feel like they've got the next man to handle it. And at this point in time, none of them are getting hurt. When in a time of year when a lot of people do get hurt as they start to ramp up towards the regular season. And as we've already seen, some guys have gotten hurt and are not participating. So
what do you think about Bruja is bringing up Ian Wheeler? My only concern with Ian Wheeler is he's still not practicing.
Ian Wheeler is not practicing yet. He probably won't be until closer to training camp. He might be a full go for training camp, but even then, I mean, this is another guy coming off of a surgically repaired knee, very young and very new to the position, relatively speaking, in the sense of he's not going to know how to rehab it the same way that some of these veteran guys do, because he hasn't spent the full offseason in an NFL training program. He was still getting his body in shape when this injury happened. And so, sure, he's a medical guy, so maybe he's also being extra precautious about it in order, and that's just a shot in the dark. But knowing that he graduated with his pre-med stuff makes me wonder if maybe he's being a little extra cautious to try to preserve his body as long as he can.
If anybody would know, he would know. We're being corrected by a number of people, and thank you for that correction. Wheeler has been practicing this week, so it's fantastic that he's back out in the field, and hopefully he can deliver on that promise that he made with those outstanding preseason games. And Vizzo brings up Hankins too, which is an interesting name for us to be following in preseason.
Dark horse.
I'm sorry, Zeb, you were going to say?
No, I was just saying it's good that he's out there. That's about the timeline I would have expected. I was thinking maybe July, but now, yeah, that's great. The ACL tears have gone from being a year and a half in. Well, let's be realistic. Back in Gale Sayers' day, they were career ending. Whereas then they slowly went to about an 18-month to 2-year injury, then down to about a year. And now it seems like guys can come back in 8 to 10 months pretty realistically. It's just a matter of how strong that surgically repaired knee is.
Yep. Sometimes you see that little hitch on guys that come back, a little too soon. This is Ben Johnson on DeAndre Swift.
He is a fierce competitor, and that's what I love about him is
first down and a little bit extra.
When the lights are bright, you're going to know exactly what you're going to get. If you tell him that you're going to need 1 yard, 4 yard, whatever that is, he's going to find a way to put his shoulder down and move the pile and get that done for you. For him right now, it's the tracks on all of our run game, being consistent and true to that. And the pass pro is a little bit new for him as well.
And this is Swift on Ben and this upcoming season.
Everything's under a microscope when, you know what I mean, you don't have no team success, but I'm being very critical of how I played last year. Excited about this year.
What excites you?
Everything. Another opportunity, first and foremost. What everybody knew, the coaching staff, the culture that's changed. You could tell Ben done a hell of a job so far, day in and day out. Just everything he's doing is going to be for the better for this organization and for this city.
What's the difference between Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, and now you being under Ben Johnson, the head coach?
How can I put it? More serious because he got to be. But like I said, he's done a hell of a job. Just seeing him transition, even from when I was where I was before, just seeing his growth as a coach and as a man. Excited to play for him. Again.
How has the scheme evolved from when you were in it in Detroit to where it is now?
From when I left, I don't know if it's the same from when I left. But as we installing and things are starting to come back to me a little bit more. But the offense we have and all the concepts and run game and all the different stuff that he's doing, he's one of the smartest football minds I've been around. He's really, really intelligent. So it's a lot of stuff.
How do you look at like the perception versus the reality of you being a guy who bounces all the runs, always trying to hit it outside, versus you being willing to run between the tackles and finish some of those shorter runs?
How do I look at it?
When you hear that, I mean, we've talked about this before, and so I kind of know what you think about it, but as you hear it going through the offseason, the Bears got to get a running back, the Bears got to do this because Drake can't do that. How do you deal with those types of things?
What can I do?
The conversation, I don't agree with it, but I want to know how you deal with it, the perception of it.
Everybody got an opinion, they're entitled to their own opinion. My job is to come in here and continue to work, and like I said, I'm excited for this season. I know who I am and what I'm about, so that's all. I was thankful for another opportunity going into the season.
Love that little exchange there between DeAndre and Herb Howard. DeAndre was like, I know you're my friend, but I want to know who the fuck's been talking bad about me. You're not running into the tackles. Was it you?
Has anybody noticed it?
That I don't like DeAndre Swift. I do. He's a good playmaker and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
If he's injured or misses the year, I think we're in trouble.
I agree with you.
It's valid.
It all signs would point to, we're in trouble because there isn't any proven running back depth. And, you got guys that you're hoping will take that next leap. I'm sorry, Zim, I interrupted you.
No, you're totally fine. You're absolutely right on the sense of like the lack of depth. But unfortunately, that's, again, part of being in the NFL. Some teams are in that situation. Other teams are not.
Mm-hmm.
How would the Philadelphia Eagles do if Saquon Barkley went down? Who's their legitimate guy behind him? Kenneth Gainwell?
No, they got rid of Gainwell. It's Will Shipley.
It's Will Shipley, huh?
It's not bad, but he's not Saquon.
He's not bad, huh? Would you rather have Will Shipley or Roshan Johnson?
Will Shipley.
I'd rather flip a coin, to be completely
I'd rather have Shipley. I saw him make a long touchdown run last year. He's a good receiver out of the backfield.
Shipley is good.
Tough inside runner.
My point is just that, like, we see it all over the league. Who's behind Josh Jacobs up in Green Bay? AJ Dillon?
No, he's gone.
No, Dillon's gone too, right?
Yep. No, they have Emmanuel Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd.
Marshawn Lloyd. right? Marshawn Lloyd, a complete unknown, and I don't even know who the other guy was that you just said because he's that irrelevant in the rest of the league.
No, he's like he filled in nice when he could over the past couple of years.
My point is simply just that like a lot of teams in the league again are in a similar situation where they have their star guy and then they've got a bunch of guys where you can definitely make a case for them, but overall it's kind of just journeyman guys or young unproven guys. And yeah, it's hard to be confident about any position on this team, honestly, if they get banged up. To be completely honest, I don't think the depth is very good on this team yet. I think about the only position that I feel comfortable if they were to get hurt is safety. And that's only because they played last season with their 2 backup safeties for most of the time. So
yeah, they're deep at corner though.
I mean, let's put it this way. If Swift gets hurt, yeah, I'm definitely concerned. Well, what happens if Dahlman gets hurt? Are you just as concerned? I'm just as concerned if Drew Dahlman goes down sometime this year.
I like that Luke Newman kid. I think he could step in there. I know he's a rookie and stuff. But
it's not that I don't like him. Right. Yeah. It won't be the same nearly at all. You know,
I wonder what they would do if they lost Dahlman.
Right. Yeah. And it's just a thought exercise here, you know, to kind of put yourself in that position for the rest of the roster. It's really easy to put one position under a microscope and say like, how did they not take care of this? But completely ignore the fact that outside of Edmonds and Edwards, who do they have at linebacker? You know, they've got Hippolyte and Sewell. Those oh, Lord help us. We see those 2 step out as starters.
Yeah, they're not deep at linebacker.
Right.
And meanwhile, left tackle's got 3 guys competing for the starting left tackle. Right. I'll tell you, if Ozzy Trapillo wins that left tackle job, Aldo, I think you have to move this Bears off season into the A+ range.
Yes,
because that pick would solidify a very important position for the team, just protecting Caleb's blind side. Now, he was, considered one of the offensive linemen's most pro-ready to play. I'm talking about Ozzy Trapillo.
Right.
And, obviously with his background at Boston College, being coached by people like Bill O'Brien, his father played in the NFL. And then Kiran Amagaji played in Ivy League school, which is a different level of competition for certain. And then Braxton Jones coming off an injury. There's the uncertainty with both of the players who are competing with Ozzy Trapillo. So for Ozzy Trapillo to solidify that left tackle job, man, that would really make Ryan Poles offseason moves just, really, solid.
What I love about the left tackle position for this team right now is we've got 3 excellent candidates. And I really mean excellent candidates. Braxton Jones is an excellent candidate. He's on the 4th year with this team. He's collected experience. The only bad thing for him, of course, is that he's coming off an injury. But when he gets back, he should be an excellent candidate and will fight for that starting job, to maintain that starting job. The 2 other guys, I mean, you're talking about 2 guys who are super, super smart. Kiran Amagaji went to Yale, and you want your offensive linemen to be brighter than your defensive linemen, because they're not going to match them with strength and power. Those defensive linemen are chosen, like Greg Gabriel says, because they're criminals, they're thugs, he says. And so you need smart people to stop them. And Ron Amagaje and Ozzy appear to be really smart guys and have the physical tools, the length, and the quick feet and so forth to excel at that position.
Did you watch the 1920 Football Drive episode?
Yes, the latest one about the draft picks. Yeah.
Did you see it, Zim, at all? Not yet?
I did not.
You should go and watch it, because it's kind of like a glimpse into the draft room and the process of going through.
That is one of the few episodes I watch every year, so I'm sure I will get around to it.
Really good. Now the Bears picked 2 offensive playmakers with their first 2 picks when they needed offensive line, but the target area was around the 50s, number 50s, pick in the 50s, which is where they predicted that they would land Ozzy Trapillo. So if Ozzy Trapillo was their target and they were it allowed, and he solidifies at left tackle, it allowed them to take two playmakers like Luther Burden and Colson Loveland, who could be a core future of this team, a future core of this team as far as playmakers. Then this draft would be brilliant. In my opinion, those first top 3 picks, if those guys all contribute this year,
forget about it. Yeah, this draft could be one of those special drafts. I mean, time will tell. I do have a better feeling of it now than I did on that Saturday when day 3 of the draft started. I think a lot of that just had to do with the fact that I was surprised that it was Loveland over Warren. I was surprised that it was Burden over running back, and on it goes. And I thought Ozzie was more of a round 3 kind of guy. So those are my feelings. Those are my gut feelings. But listening to and watching and learning, I think all those guys on day 1 and 2 have a chance to be great contributors for this team.
100%.
Let's see what else I got here to share with you fellas.
We're gonna talk a little Lions too. Don't forget to circle back. We got to circle back to do a little Lions talk.
We will definitely talk about
Is Don Burr here? Was he hassling you the other day or something?
No, here's the thing is I have announced that Burr, I've kicked him out. I don't mind if he's making jokes of the Bears or us, but when we have a guest on, I think it's rude. And then I started thinking about this more. You, Tooch, and Zim now, and myself, we work hard to put the show on. I mean, Tooch, you spend
you guys do, yeah.
Well, if you become a regular part of this, you're just not going to show up 5 minutes into the show when I roll the video. I'm already rolling the video, and this guy's not around. But my point is that we work to entertain and inform, and then it's like Evie said, he's just coming in and disrupting stuff. And it is disrespectful to you, Tooch, if he's fucking, talking about something totally different and bullshitting while you are doing your well-researched, well-prepared Bear State of Affairs. And for the rest of the stuff that we do here, I mean, 75% of the show is all bullshit, but that 25% that we worked on is important.
We live for those moments.
Exactly.
25%.
So before we talk about the Lions and Don Burr's ears start ringing, I do want to talk about Jaquan Brisker, and he met with the media today. This was his opening remark.
Recently, that you've kept all the receipts.
Yeah.
Is that people doubting you or doubting the team or both?
Down the team, down me, whatever it may be. I'm keeping all receipts. Everybody who thought it was funny or everybody who talks about us, whatever, we're ready for this year. So I'm ready for this year. I'm back. Nine is back.
That wasn't his opening statement, but
I'm glad you put Jaquan Brisker up because I had some things I wanted to.
Good. Yeah, I mean, this guy is pissed off. He is fucking pissed off. And if he can control that concussion problem, this guy could be a Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber player. Go ahead, Tooch. What are we going to say about him?
Well, I mean, last year there was all this talk. He had the concussion issues. And then towards the end of the year, there was talk of him being, a healthy scratch from lineups as he thought he was back. And the coaching staff kind of, put him to the side, whether it was things that he had said publicly, any kind of talk that was detrimental to the coaching staff possibly had led to his benching. But this is one of the comeback stories of this season, is whether this kid who's playing for a new contract, that's got to weigh on him, and he's pissed off, man. He thinks he's got the injured player designation, the tag of being always injured. So he went out to prove something. You tell his body language. He was like shifting back and forth while standing at the podium. He's angry.
He's anxious.
He's anxious. He wants to get out there and play. And I think he's cleared now. I'm not sure to practice, but This is a guy we'll be watching. We have no safeties under contract for next year, whether they're going to make Kyler Gordon into a safety or Ruben Hippolyte into a safety. It all depends on how these guys play. Byard is out of contract after this year. Brisker,
Kennedy Urlacher.
They're all drafting Kennedy Urlacher after next season.
We're going to go 54 and put him at strong safety.
There you go.
But, I mean, I'm not sure that we didn't draft a safety this year.
No,
so
that surprised me.
The Bears don't place as much a high of a priority on it as we do, because I think they're probably of the mindset we can sign a veteran off the street and get enough production out of someone who's free agent or street free agent.
Yeah, how the running back position has been regarded over the last few years, that it's kind of a disposable position, that the safety position has had that reputation now, even before the running backs, and continues now, even after running backs now are a little bit more prized. I do think that this team has to do something about this long-term solution for this safety, because of what those guys provide in terms of leadership from the back end, looking at your corners, looking at your linebackers, looking at your defensive backs. Those guys are so important. And I want to get, Brisker is really kind of a perfect person. He's got balls the size of the John Hancock building. He hits as hard as a Mack truck, and he loves the football game, but he keeps getting hurt, and that's a problem.
Do you think, Aldo, that the Bears are happy to let him try and play on a no contract, to play his ass off for a new contract?
I think he will not get a contract extension, and he will be allowed to test free agency after this season.
Right, but I mean, going into the season, I think they're fine with just letting him play his ass off for a new contract.
I totally agree. Unfortunately, with the business the way that it is, and the fact that this guy's putting his own health on the line for the team, I hate to be that way, but from a business standpoint, you got to do it. Samo says, I'm more worried about Byard losing a step than Brisker's health. You guys agree?
Oh, Samo, all right.
No.
I love Samo.
And the reason I'm not worried about it is because I think that Elijah Hicks can fill that role just fine. I personally, I really like him. Major Burns, guy that they picked up, UDFA, great player. They've got a lot of promising young corners too.
Yeah, the Oregon
maybe they convert one of those guys.
The Oregon kid we got as a player.
Nashon Wright from Oregon State.
Tyshim Johnson.
Oh, Tyshim Johnson.
Yep.
Yeah, he's another good one. No, this Nashon Wright they got from Oregon State. I've heard that he is lighting up training camp. So he's very much sort of your Terrell Smith kind of guy. A guy who's probably going to end up being a good depth piece, but somebody you can count on if you need to. Brisker's play style is very violent. Brisker is your Roschon Johnson of the defense. Where we'll see what happens. Maybe he plays with the Guardian cap too this season. Roschon Johnson put on the Guardian cap last year, and all of a sudden his concussion problems went away. Those things are proven to work and proven to help a lot. So, I mean, maybe he does. I'm looking at next year's free agent list.
Before you go there, before we look at, did you mute yourself or did I do something here?
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. So before you look at next year's list, I want to have Ben Johnson talk about Brisker. Here it comes.
He was a guy that you had to earmark and just make sure you knew where he was when you game plan against him, because he was very active, particularly in the run game. He liked to come down and fill in the box and played like a linebacker that happened to be a defensive back and not afraid to hit you. So we always told the receivers that they had to make sure they accounted for him. And
I'm ready for this year. I'm back. Nine is back.
He likes to talk a little bit too, which I appreciate.
So it sounds like the head coach likes him a lot. Stay healthy, and you might get a contract with the Bears. I'm sorry, Zim, you were going to say.
No, you know who he reminds me of, like both in press conferences and on the field. is a guy a lot of people liked, and that's Cam Chancellor. His play style feels so much like his. He's a little smaller than Cam, but I mean, Cam was a freak of nature. So what are you going to do with that? It's like saying somebody reminds you of Byron Maxwell on that Legion of Boom. I mean, the guy was like 6'5". It was unreal.
Yeah.
But at any rate, yeah, his play style reminds me so much of that. And it's why I want to see them keep him around, is because it's such a rare thing to find in safeties, guys who are basically linebackers, but crazy fast. And I don't think Hippolyte fits that archetype as much now that I've heard some of his training camp stuff. He feels very much more like a nickel linebacker, you know, a guy when you want to play big but still need that coverage on the turf. That's where I think he fits in. And I thought he'd be more of a hybrid guy initially, and I don't think that anymore. So yeah, I mean, again, I can go into what I was looking at here with the
yeah, go ahead, please.
Safeties for next year, but generally speaking, I mean, Brisker's one of the top options out there. Outside of that, you've got Reed Blankenship, but Philadelphia seems to always find a way to pay these guys.
Yeah, unbelievable.
It's unreal. You've got Ardarius Washington from Baltimore. He's either I don't think that's a viable option. Either he's going to get overpaid somewhere else or he's going to stay in Baltimore. Nobody on this list jumps off the page at me. That's what's really frustrating. You got Brian Cook from Kansas City, but I don't think he's any better than what you've got now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know what next year's draft class looks like at the safety position, but it's definitely something that needs addressing. We're fine this year.
Keep an eye on that.
Yeah, we're fine this year.
You know what?
We've got the four guys from last year: Owens, Brisker, Byard, and Hicks. We got those guys coming back, and we got 2 or 3 guys competing, undrafted free agents, so they're long shots. But 2025, but 2026 is going to be a challenge, no doubt.
I like this guy from Tennessee. I think the Bears should go after him. His name's Mike Brown. They should get him just for the name.
Absolutely. He gets a starting position for that.
There you go.
Next year's best safety will be the Ohio State kid, Caleb Downs.
Oh, that's right.
Keep an eye on that kid during this college football's right around the corner too.
But I mean, he's a top 15 pick.
Is there something going on between Samo and Tooch?
I love my guy. He's my guy.
He's awesome.
I love him.
All right, so we got Brisker out of the way. Let me see if I've got any other thing that I wanted to share. There was a lot, man. I didn't have time to. We got Ben Johnson talking about Tyreek. We got Ben is perfect. Did I share with you the Ben perfection thing? We talked about the precision. Okay, here it comes.
I've probably seen more bad football than I've seen.
Are you sure I need to play that already?
Maybe we did.
We talked about it. We just didn't play the clip.
I've probably seen more bad football than I've seen good football over my time in this league, and so it's trying not to make the same mistakes as the people I've been around maybe in the past that I perceived as mistakes. And I don't think you can let things slide. I think offensive football is about precision, and so it's a constant communication of what that should look like. And when they hit the mark, we love them up. And when we fall short, then we got to let them know so we get it better next time.
Guys, does he remind you of anyone? How he sounds and how he looks. It just hit me.
I've probably seen more bad football than I've seen good football over.
Tom fucking Brady.
I've probably seen more bad football than I've seen good football over my.
Right?
I can totally see it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we have Tom Brady coaching the Bears.
I don't know where did Ben Johnson grow up? I forget where he started.
I don't know, but man, that is like a doppelganger. I love it.
He went to college at North Carolina. Is that
really? Oh,
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
People agree with me.
He's from Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, so it's from the Carolinas, yeah.
And so where's Brady from?
Brady was a California kid.
Yeah.
Zach, how stupid do you think I am? Don't answer that. Loco figured it all out. All the smoking tonight, the good stuff too.
he went to high school in Asheville, North Carolina.
Who, Brady?
Ben Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Ben Johnson apparently was TJ Yates' backup at UNC.
Yep. Walk on. He was a walk-on for the Tar Heels.
That's wild. That is wild.
Back then, North Carolina wasn't really known for football.
No.
More known for basketball.
I didn't know this. He started his coaching career at Boston College.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Wait, was that the same time that that Ryan Poles went there?
Yes.
As a player?
No, it was a little after. It was Poles first, and then Ben Johnson. I think almost a year after Poles left.
Well, they do have that connection. They got a little Boston College connection.
Yes. And man, Dan McGuire.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly 1 year apart. Wow, that's
Is
crazy.
Danny going to call in?
No, he can't. He's at work, and I told Tooch before the show, he's having a rough time, my buddy Dan Aguirre. People know that he works as a 911 operator. He unfortunately had a case that was so effing disturbing that he was on the phone for about an hour. And it was just so disturbing, and that he's that the 911 place where he works has offered free therapy for him, and he's taking it, which I'm glad to hear, because it's just one of those things where people in this world who just don't know how to take care of their children, and then they say some things to the 911 operator like it's your fucking fault that this happened, and it's like, know how to take care of your kids. A poor guy is just going through it. You know how Dan takes things to heart like 10 times more than the average human being, and so he's going through a tough time. I love Dan, and I wish him well to get through that. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. What were we talking about?
We could hit a little Lions now, or are we?
Yeah, let's talk about the Lions.
It's the off season. It must be time to talk about the Lions.
My thing, news broke that Frank Ragnow, the one of the better centers, if not top 5 in the league,
definitely top 5.
Yeah,
the
maybe
Lions,
even the top for that one season that Jason Kelsey wasn't there.
Losing the center, sort of the heart of their offensive line to retirement.
I applaud.
And that they're going to go with a rookie. So another way that perhaps this team is weakened, and other teams can attack. And then, of course, they lost both of their coordinators. Ben Johnson to the Bears, and Aaron Glenn went to, was it the Jets?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where he went to the Jets, right? Aaron
Yes.
Glenn? Okay.
Yes, the Jets head coach.
So Dan Campbell will have to replace his top 2 coaching assistants.
He has, and it's
right.
Nobody notable, at least in terms of what they've done.
Well, Aaron Glenn, let's be real here. For as much crap as I give Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson were nobody notable when he put them in their positions either.
Excellent point. Excellent
Great point. Yeah, fantastic point. Yep. So
I hate to say it, but it,
it's the truth. You got to say it.
But still, those are 3 question marks now. The Lions and the Lions have had a grip on the NFC North for the past few seasons. The Vikings are going with a rookie quarterback who missed all of his second-year quarterback who missed his entire rookie season to a knee injury. The Packers had their troubles. I don't think, did they win a division game last year? They might have been 0-6. I think they're 1-5.
They were 1-5. They beat the Bears.
1-5. They're right. They beat the Bears. They split 1-5. And now you have the Bears with a lot of hype rolling into this season. A lot of improvements. They rebuilt the offensive line. They hired the hottest coaching candidate in the NFL. Can the Bears contend for the division?
I think so, Mr. Johnny Santucci.
There's a shot that they could.
Yeah.
And the news of the Lions getting weaker do I think it'll happen? The odds are against it, but I think there's an outside shot, Zim.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's an opportunity for them to win it all, but until it happens, I'm not going to count them in at all. They get a great opportunity week 1 to come out 1-0 in the division. I think if they win week 1, it highly strengthens their chances of winning the division. And I think if they lose week 1, I don't want to say it's going to go completely off the rails because I have a little more faith in Ben Johnson than that. But I do think it significantly decreases their chances. I really think week 1 might be one of the more important games of the year for both of these teams, especially the team, and not to side with the Vikings by any means, but especially the team that's coming out with a rookie quarterback, highly anticipated debut against the divisional opponent. You know, compared to JJ McCarthy, Caleb Williams is the most pressure-free guy in that stadium. You know, I cannot imagine what JJ McCarthy is being put through and being put under to have to try to hold that team up this season. But Kevin O'Connell's done it with every quarterback he's had there. So what's to say he can't do it again?
This week there were reports that they wanted to re-sign Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
You know, they settled for I forgot who they settled for. Was it Sam Howell? Sam Howell.
Sam Howell, yes.
Sam Howell they settled for instead of Sam. They traded one Sam for another. But they wanted to re-sign Darnold. He got his contract wishes granted by the Seahawks. So
Good
he's
for him.
gone. But they weren't. I mean, do they like JJ McCarthy? Of course. You know, they drafted him, 9th overall, 10th overall. So they definitely see something in him. I thought he was a good prospect coming out as well. But he's a big unknown.
He really is. And I think he could be a modern day, I don't want to compare him to Jay Cutler because he doesn't have the kind of attitude problems that Cutler always had. But and I mean that in the sense of, because I don't want to say Rex Grossman either, because that's kind of insulting. But I mean it in the sense of a guy who's pretty good, but not quite good enough. Maybe Russell Wilson's a good comparison there. Russell Wilson was always on that edge of is he elite? Is he not elite? You know, Joe Flacco, they had that conversation about him for years. That's where I see JJ McCarthy's ceiling. Is he's that guy who can get you there, but he's not the guy who's going to win it for you, you know?
Yeah, first of all, JJ McCarthy, to me, there's so much that is unproven about the guy. Even at Michigan, I don't think he ever threw for a 300-yard game. He never, he was asked to hand the ball 60-70% of the game and not throw. That's going to be the opposite in the NFL, or close to that. He's going to be asked to do things with the Vikings and in the NFL that he's never done before or hasn't done since high school. So that's a pretty big, tall order. Now, he's got a great coach, good wide receivers, great wide receiver in JJ. But go ahead, Zim, what were you going to say?
You know what all this talk reminds me of? Reminds me of when the Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky. It really does. We know he can do it, but he didn't do it in college. But, he had some successful seasons, and he's got all the arm talent in the world, but we're asking him to do things that he hasn't done since high school, and he's got this great receiver there to help him out, and sounds a lot like Trubisky.
No, but didn't he play 2 years at Michigan, JJ?
Yeah, started for 2 years there.
Okay, that's the big difference between him and Trubisky.
Yeah, Trubisky played 1 year.
He played in a post-op.
He had the national championship year for sure.
Yeah, right.
But the year before, he split
time?
Starting time with Cade McNamara.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
McNamara went to the.
I thought McNamara was 2 years ahead.
McNamara went to the Hawkeyes.
You would know. You would know. All right, but I want to get back to the subject that Tooch represented with the Detroit Lions because it gives me great glee to say this team is in trouble. Yeah. This team is in trouble. Now, somebody in the chat said that Don Burr told them that Frank Ragnow has been hurt for the last 2 seasons. It was Cliff. It's like, yeah, he was hurt. He's got a terrible turf toe injury, but yet he was still playing at a high level because he is a beast. He is a man of a beast. He's a beast of a man. However you want to put it, the guy was fucking extraordinary and was definitely, I agree with Zim, top 3 center in the NFL. The fact that he's leaving, it doesn't just present a pass blocking and a run blocking loss. It also represents a loss of leadership that is very, very difficult. And Tate Ratledge is the heir apparent now, a 6'6" guard who has never played center. Yeah, good luck with that in your first season.
I love Ratledge as a guard, though.
Yeah, I'm not saying
That's
he's
a
going
good
to be a
prospect,
bust at center, but there's going to be some tough learning for that young kid. He isn't going to turn into a Pro Bowl center in his first season.
And again, you want to talk about familiar conversations for us. Oh, we don't really have a center, but we've got this really good guard. We can just move him over to center and everything will be fine, right? Right? Right.
I love it. And then the entire offensive line, yes, you got the 2 Pro Bowl tackles and Sewell and Taylor Decker, but the guards now they're not exactly God's gift, and they don't have any depth in the offensive line. So that's a problem. Add to that now that you've lost the coordinators and 6 position coaches, as somebody pointed out in the chat, and you add to that those 2 coordinators, particularly Ben Johnson, had a huge role in the efficiency of what they were doing over there, to the point where the players themselves are talking like they're in panic mode. I can't believe that Ben Johnson left us. I can't believe what they're doing over there. You see what they're doing over there? I've heard all of that stuff from Detroit players. They're concerned about Ben Johnson and Glenn no longer with the team. And then the third point is there may not be a steep downfall for this team, but I do predict a gradual decline because they've got so many contracts that are coming up in the next year or two, including Aiden Hutchinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta. Guys, they had bango drafts, and all those guys' contracts come up at the same time. So fuck you, Don Burr. That's it. I'm done.
You've got Hutchinson coming off an injury. You've got who's the tight end? Laporta coming off of maybe the most disappointing sophomore season out of a pretty strong rookie class. Might have had one of the more disappointing sophomore seasons out of anybody in that group. You're now missing 2 of your interior linemen. Well, hey, what's a great way to disrupt Jared Goff in particular? Interior pressure.
Thank you, brother.
Interior pressure.
Well said.
So, I mean, and on top of it, if this team starts playing from behind, their defense gets reckless.
Yes!
I mean, reckless. I mean, it's something that we've seen for the last 3 years. The easiest way to beat the Detroit Lions, get out to an early lead. You want to know where we saw that? Go watch the most recent game the Detroit Lions played. All Washington had to do to win that game was get up by 2 scores in the first quarter. And the rest of the game was a cakewalk. Every time Detroit scored, their defense is, just going to play with their freaking heads cut off, play balls to the wall. And hey, that's great when you're playing with a lead. But when you're playing from behind, you have got to make some business decisions.
Thank you. Donald is right. That defense was never particularly good.
No,
Aaron Glenn
is just a cheerleader, man.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn got a lot of credit for a defense that was giving up 20, 25, 30 points a game. Even before the injuries, they had some tough times. So I can't, the Detroit Lions fans have infested a lot of people's timelines on social media, Bears fans' timelines on social media, bragging.
They do it this time every year. They do it every offseason. The difference is for the last 2 years, they didn't go away when the season started.
Yeah, right. But
The opportunity is there for the Bears, though.
Yes, but you would think that the branding of being losers, that should still be embedded and stinging into their sin, because that's the truth about the Detroit Lions franchise. They are one of the NFL's all-time losingest franchise, fucked up franchises.
Well, it's what made me not want to root for them, period, through all this success that they've had. It's what made me, the second that they started winning, start thinking, fuck these guys. As hard as I possibly can, fuck them. Like, with the most uncomfortable object I can find, fuck them. Like,
thank you.
I just, you were losers for 75 years, and then you had one winning season, and you acted like your shit didn't stink. And it really pissed me off. It's like, man, no. You don't get to have one good season and lose all humility.
Right.
Lions fans disappeared by October every single year until all of a sudden they had one good season. And it's, fuck you, we're going to the Super Bowl. We're better than you. You can't keep up with us. We're the best team out there. Amon-Ra, sun god. You know, come on. Come on, you blasphemous prick.
And I got a message for Dan Campbell. Nobody gives a fuck when you cry. Nobody cares. Stop with the shtick already. Stop crying, because then when you get your asses kicked this year and you start to cry, people are going to think, oh my God, this guy with the crying. It really is it's starting to be a bad look for Dan Campbell. Stop with the crying. And,
how come when Dan Campbell cries, he's a real man and it's so impressive, but when Ryan Poles does it, he's a soft little bitch because he had to cut his friend?
That's a great point. Ho says, clip that, Aldo. That Zimmerman line was a hot take. Indeed, I got it written down. 135-35. All right. But the one last thing about the Detroit Lions, Tooch, and I know, you open up a whole fucking can of worms here because I can go another 2 hours on the Lions. But I do have a lot of faith in Brad Holmes, the general manager of the Lions, in identifying talent.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's done a great job.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
It does seem that he has had a vision. That vision was best exemplified when they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, I think in the top 15 of that 2019, 2020 draft, whenever it was. But everybody was saying, what a stupid pick. And I kept thinking to myself, wait a minute, he just picked up Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk is a fucking great player, and it's proven to be right. And he had a vision for that team, and I do think that Campbell and Ben Johnson and Glenn helped create that vision. And those guys are gone now, so it's going to be interesting to see how Brad Holmes rebounds without those great minds over at wherever their headquarters is in Michigan.
This will be what, Jahmyr Gibbs' third year?
I think this is year number 3. Yes, right. So that would make him a 2021 draft.
When's he a free agent?
He's got one more contract. 2026. After 2026, he becomes a free agent. If they don't,
then Ben Johnson will be asking Ryan Poles to pony up for Jahmyr.
That's a great point too. Could they have not drafted a running back because they got their eyes on Jahmyr Gibbs in free agency in a year or two?
Yeah.
Something to think about. Something to do some.
If you think your first round pick is going to be kind of crappy, who cares if you trade it to a divisional opponent?
Ooh, interesting. What made you say that? Hey, by the way, Zim, is that a Rex Grossman autograph?
It sure is.
If you're listening on audio, Zim is wearing a hat with a Rex Grossman autograph on it. I'm like,
sexy Rex.
That hat, by the way, is the shit, man. That is beautiful. And then I'm thinking that's a recent release. I haven't seen it, and I keep thinking, whose name is that?
Oh, it's the Reebok series and everything. Like this is
look at that.
This is back from when Rexy was good. No, I believe it or not, I found this at like a thrift store out in Denver for like $6. Like,
look at that! Wow, the autograph like that now, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, that's awesome. That is awesome. All right, guys, we got about 20, 25, 35, 45 minutes left.
Yeah.
Want to talk some pop culture or any other football topics you want to address?
You
last
tasked
thing.
us with the leadership from movies.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but go ahead, Sim.
Just a quick last thing about football. There's a reason that we spent some time here talking about the Vikings and what we expect from them this season and the Lions and how much they've pissed us off. And there's a good reason we didn't talk about the third team in the division, and it's because they're fucking irrelevant. And it's so nice to think about that they're like a second or third place team, like realistically a second or third place team in the division. They rattled off a few easy wins last season that frankly I would have liked to see the Bears win games like that.
What was their record? They finished what, 9 and 10 and 7, 11 and 6?
11 and 6, yes.
Maybe one of the weakest 11-win teams I think I've ever seen.
The quietest 11 and 6 team.
They've got a good coach. They really do, but they've got a terrible roster. They've got no wide receivers. They've got one good tight end between the three guys they've got there. I mean, that's not to slight these guys. The tight end's probably the strongest position on the team. And for a team called the Packers, I would expect their tight ends to be pretty good.
Josh Jacobs is solid, man.
Josh Jacobs is a very solid player. But as I said, when everybody was like, oh my God, they got Josh Jacobs last year. What has Josh Jacobs ever done for a team?
He had a good season, though, last year.
He did have a good season. And did it matter? No.
No. They made the playoffs, though, didn't they?
Go look
they
at
did.
They did make the playoffs.
Except us.
go look at Josh Jacobs' career stats. He's had a great career. And can you remember a single meaningful play from his career? Because I can't.
Nope.
I really can't. He's like
he played on the Raiders for the first part of his career. So
who would I consider? Maybe like the Phillip Rivers of running backs. We're like, he's good and he's going to put up numbers every year, but like, are you really worried about him carrying you to a Super Bowl? Like, no. Like, I don't know. It's no slight on the guy. He performs very highly at a very difficult position in a very difficult sport. But he's a tweener, he's in between the very good and the elite.
I think that the best thing that happened to Bears fans is when the Packers signed Jordan Love to that long-term contract.
Yes. Not even that, though, because here's the thing is like, at least they know what they're getting and you can kind of like work with what you got. Like, look at what the Bears did with Cutler. They made a couple good playoff teams with him.
They did.
Look at what the Bears did with Mitch Trubisky. They knew what they had there. They built up on the other side of the ball and tried to make some pushes. He made the playoffs twice. Look at what they did with Rex Grossman, so on and so forth. Like there's so many examples of these teams having these mediocre quarterbacks and Joe Flacco wins a Super Bowl, and Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson, it can be done.
It
really
done.
Can. And all things considered,
success means
success. It means having an elite quarterback.
Right.
Absolutely. And yes, he is not an elite quarterback. And thank God, because I don't know if I could have dealt with that again.
I hear you, brother.
You realize it's literally like you guys, you're like, oh my God, it's been 30 years. You realize that's my entire life, right? Like, I don't know what it's like for them to have a subpar quarterback.
It's even worse for the younger guys. One for the older guys. We saw a couple of Super Bowl teams.
So, I mean,
yeah, I kind of. I mean, they're not irrelevant. They're gonna win some games.
No, my point is not necessarily that they're irrelevant altogether. I should say that they're irrelevant as far as like a division title goes, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and I think they showed exactly why last year. They're good enough to beat bad teams, but not good enough to beat good teams.
Yeah,
and teams like that live in purgatory, and it's kind of the problem with teams that don't have the lottery system like the NFL, or rather with sports that don't have the lottery system like the NFL, is that these teams that are like pretty good never get rewarded for being pretty good and things like that. Like it's hard to know when to hit the suck button. And I feel like the Packers missed the opportunity to hit the suck button and truly rebuild properly. And the Vikings didn't. The Vikings did not miss the opportunity. They just found a coach that was able to take a suck year and turn it into a good year.
I agree.
You know, the Lions, they embraced the suck years because it netted them Aiden Hutchinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, the faces of their franchise. So,
yeah, good point. I will say this about the Packers. I think that they are a top of tier 2 team. You know, they're a good team, but I don't take them seriously as a Super Bowl contender like I do a handful of teams in the National Football League. Don't ask me to name those teams now because I need to study it a little further, but I know this about the Packers. When you start that tier that says teams that are good but won't advance in the playoffs to the conference championships, I'm putting the Packers on there because I don't think, like Zim says, I don't think that they got the roster to do it. I think Jordan Love is a hot and cold quarterback. I think he's also a turnover quarterback. You listen to Green Bay Packers fans, and I do every once in a while, and they complain about his inaccuracy. He's just inconsistent with his throws. You could have a wide open receiver and hit him in the numbers, or the next throw will be 10 yards over his head. And you can't win with the quarterback. You can't win the big games with a quarterback like that. And their defense is not at that tier 1 level. They've got some good players on the defense, but it just seems like they've never been able to put together a defensive season that it's like the Lombardi years or anything at all like that. So I'm not too worried about the Packers. I still think that the Lions are going to be good, but they're going to show some signs of cracking. And then this Vikings team kind of all depends on J.J. McCarthy. Can he do what he has not done in college? Can he do it in the pros? And he's got the support
system. Good roster.
They do.
I generally don't like their roster, but it's not for the obvious reasons. It's more so just for it feels like a Madden team to me. You know, a bunch of guys just put in spots. And sometimes that works really well, like we've seen the last couple of years, and sometimes it doesn't. I gotta say, I never liked their GM, Kwesi Adolfo-Menso.
Really?
I never liked him. He interviewed for the Bears job twice and didn't get it. And I was honestly grateful because, I mean, he learned everything that he knows in Cleveland. I don't trust anybody who learned their stuff in Cleveland. Like, it's not a winning culture. It's not a winning organization.
He's drafted pretty well.
He has. And he's found some really good talent that I never would have considered to be good talent. So there's clearly a reason that this guy has the position that he does. He's put together some very good teams, and he's competed for championships. And you know, I'm simply saying that maybe I don't have as good an eye as I think I do, because I genuinely dislike the way that the Vikings have built their roster and assembled their team, and they're winning and they're doing pretty well at it. And they're not I genuinely think they have a chance to compete with JJ McCarthy, and it has nothing to do with JJ McCarthy.
Right. I was shocked last season at how well they played with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, I'm telling you people, the guy that sees ghosts and stuff. And I bet you Sam Darnold at Seattle is going to be fucking horrific. He's going to see ghosts again. And we started to see that in the last 3-4 games of the Vikings regular season. He was coming back down to earth. But yeah, this Vikings team always surprises me. But what's not going to surprise me is that we have a whole new Bears team out there that is beyond well coached. There is a vision and accountability and intelligence, and some of these players, I mean, fucking Jervon Dexter at the podium today, you know, somebody asked him, have you gained some weight? He goes, I just added some more lean muscle on top of my muscle. It's like this motherfucker, and he's a leader. He brings all the defensive linemen down to Florida. This thing is just feeling really fucking good to me. Anyway, Tooch, why don't you take us through some pop culture stuff? What do you got?
All right. Well, movie leaders in movies. I got a couple. 2 captains. I'll give you 2 of my favorite leaders. So you know who this guy is?
Yes. Master and the Commander, right?
Yes. Awesome movie. Fantastic movie. One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes.
Captain Jack Aubrey.
Mm-hmm.
who was just a fantastic leader. Just the way he had to contend with having a ship that wasn't as fast as the enemy's ship, and how he led was great, inspiring. He led with humor. He was also tough. He was smart. He had this aura about him and stuff. So one of my, I think, might be one of the greatest leader of cinema history. And then this guy, Captain John Miller.
Oh yeah,
yeah, from maybe the greatest war movie of all time.
I agree with that. Yeah,
I would agree up until recently, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's up there with Platoon and Full Metal Jacket, and but Captain Miller was a good leader too. Just had a different style than Captain Jack. He was he wasn't a hard ass, but he was smart and confident, even though in the movie he was shaky. But his men were inspired by him and followed him no matter what.
I like that one. He was, and I've only watched the movie once because to me, it's one of those movies that has such an impactful emotional wallop.
Yeah.
And
it's heavy.
I don't know if I want to go through that again, at least with the same movie. I don't mind going through that feeling again where I'm like, crying and trying to hold back the cry in a movie theater. I don't want to, I want to be surprised when that happens. And if I watch in Private Ryan again, I know it's going to happen. And I don't want to go through that. I guess maybe I sound weird here, but I just feel like the movie made its impact on me. I will always hold that movie in high reverence and really appreciate how they detailed the sacrifice of our armed soldiers and what they did in the past to defend democracy in this country. Pretty cool stuff.
Storming the beach in the beginning of the movie was just so intense. It's one of the most intense scenes in cinema history, I think.
I'm telling you, I was in a movie theater with the 6-channel surround stereo, and I felt like the fucking bullets were going right through me, from one speaker behind me to the next speaker in front of me. Wow. Unbelievable, man.
Yep.
And all great cast. Steven Spielberg did a fantastic job training these guys to be soldiers, like 6 weeks of training before they started actually shooting. And the cast was just phenomenal young actors. Good stuff. What do you got, Zim?
First off, we're talking great war movies, and I can't think of a specific example of a good leader. However, there were a couple good leaders in this movie. If you haven't seen the recent adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front, it was filmed in German. I watched it with subtitles, but they do have dubbed versions out there as well. Excellent movie. Captured the emotions of the book, captured the feelings of war. To kind of spoil a little bit for some people, the book's been out for about 70 years, so I don't feel like I really need a spoiler warning on this, but the entire point of it is about the futility of war. The idea that there are no heroes, there are no winners. The only people that lose are you, me, and our brothers, who we send off to die for whatever reason. But anyway, just for anybody who thinks that these are recent topics, these have been going on since 1913. At any rate, I really, really, really love that movie. It has stuck with me a long time. But we were talking about leaders, and I watch a lot of kids movies these days.
Oh,
I have two.
I know the feeling.
Exactly. I have 2 young boys, and I recently watched one that I was like, man, that's how you lead by example. That's how you take accountability and do what's supposed to be done. It's Mike Wazowski from the Monsters Inc. and Monsters University films.
Good one.
I think he is a great example for kids to learn how to hold themselves accountable, how to accept the consequences of their actions, and how to overcome that adversity. And
Billy Crystal the voice, or who was the voice?
I don't remember.
I forgot who was the voice of Mike.
Billy Crystal was.
Was it Billy Crystal? I think it was Billy Crystal.
I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
sounds right.
And John Goodman.
John
was the
Goodman
voice
was the other one.
John Goodman's the other guy. Steve
Sully.
Buscemi was the bad guy, but
Yeah.
the antagonist. Antagonist doesn't necessarily mean bad guy. So
No, I love that choice because there are a lot of the Disney movies do, and I know some people are going to be angry or disagree with me on this, but a lot of the Disney movies do teach good morality. Like I remember taking my daughter when she was young to see Hercules, and there's this whole song and dance number about being a hero. And I was trying to explain to her that sometimes in life you have to be courageous and you have to, know that you're going to be scared doing something. But Hercules in this movie, there's a scene where he overcomes his fears and overcomes the enemy. And that's a good life lesson for a lot of us to cover. And I think a lot of Disney movies are pretty good at doing that. Anyone disagree with me? Please see me out and back in the alley.
My problem is more modern Disney.
Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
The older films, up until and we all look at our past through rose-colored glasses, right? But up until about 5 to 10 years ago, I would completely agree that the Disney films did a really wonderful job of this. And recently they're on this whole shtick of like being selfish is good. And I'm just like, can we not with that? Like, yes, it is important to take care of yourself and to have self-care and self-love. But like at the same time, sometimes other people come first.
Yep. So love it. I got a couple and I love movies that portray people who are leaders or heroes, and so I've got so many to pick from, but one of my favorite, the one that made me love making movies and telling stories through images and so forth, is Stanley Kubrick's Paths of Glory, where Kirk Douglas plays Colonel Dax, who is a French a colonel who is asked to take his troops into an unwinnable situation, which is to take a hill called the Ant Hill. And he knows it's a futile mission, but when he is told by his superiors, well, we'll just find somebody else to take over your troops, he says, fuck you, no one's going to take my troops. And he tries to lead them on this impossible mission. They fail. And when they fail, his superior then asks Kirk Douglas to pick 3 guys from each of his regiments so that they can be tried for cowardice. And he's like, are you crazy? These guys were so brave. This was just an impossible mission. But they railroad him. They forced his trial, and it's a not a kangaroo court, but it's one of those courts where they already had their minds in before they walked into the room. And you see spoiler alert, you see the execution of the 3 soldiers, and yet this man, Colonel Dax, still fights for them, cries for them, does whatever is necessary to save their lives, even though it's a futile mission. And I think that is the sign of a great leader.
Yep, that's a good one.
It's those people on the Titanic who kept playing fucking music when the boat's going down. You can call them stupid, but the music was nice, while you're going down. All right, my next one is Gladiator, the original Gladiator. I've not yet to see Gladiator 2, but Maximus, played by Russell Crowe, he's just a bad motherfucker, man.
We got a lot of Russell Crowe and Tom Hanks tonight, huh?
How about it?
Who'd have thought?
But I hate to see Russell Crowe now. He's as fat as me. He looks like he doesn't, do anything other than drink big pints and steins of beer and stuff. But in that movie, he was such a bad motherfucker. And I want to do a segment once. One of the shows, I'll do it with you guys, is let's talk about our greatest death scenes in movies, because in Gladiator, that is one of the best death scenes when he dies, and I won't get into it because we'll talk about it in the future show, but that's one of the ways I want to go. I want to go down as a hero, or my family will be talking about me for generations. Man, he died courageously.
300 was a good one too.
300, yes.
With, the death scene at the end where they're all just like pierced by arrows, the last of the the last of the Spartans. You know,
Talk about good death scenes and just like like a whole clip show just ran through my head. Like, I got
King Leonidas and his wife, who totally don't come home unless you're coming home on your shield. Right?
Awesome. Stephen Me says Disney doesn't do a good job when they deal with true life or real people. Take the movie Invincible about Vince Papali. Movie is entertaining, but uses alternative facts to alter history. Well, here's the thing, Stephen, is it's not the responsibility of movie theaters, movie directors, movie producers to provide historical lessons. They're taking these stories based on reality and they're trying to make money by entertaining you. So if you want the true story of Papali or anybody else that Disney does a movie about, go read a book, do the research and so forth. I stand by this. Movies should not be counted on for historical accuracy. Oliver Stone's JFK is one of the greatest movies I ever made, but I am not going to cite that movie if I want to make the case that John F. Kennedy was shot by the CIA. That's his theory. That's not fact. So that's my response to Stephen Me, who I love and adore.
About another alternative thought as a good leader. I'm just scrolling my letterbox thinking about some good movies with some good leaders. Again, a more alternative one, because it's not that I dislike anything that you guys have brought up. It's more so that I feel like these are very stereotypical. Very much when you say leader, we think general, captain, guys who lead.
Fair enough.
Which is natural. There's a reason they're in that position.
Yep.
Right? How about Edward Norton's character from American History X? How about that as a good leader?
Yeah. Okay.
The way that he leads the youth, his younger brother, he leads him away from going down a bad path. And again, it's less about leading a group and more about being the example and being the leader that you want to see others be. And so I don't know, that just ran through my head as I was flipping through my
I think that's
my letterbox profile.
That's a great way to look at this. Yeah, leaders are you can find a leader anywhere. You could find a leader at you go to an office building and there's a guy mopping the floor. Could be a leader. He could be telling the other people mopping the floors, do the best job you can. Make sure these floors are you can eat off of them, have a good attitude about your work and so forth. Yeah, leaders come in all sizes, all shapes, and form. And here's something that I think Tooch put this up already. Paul Newman in Slapshot was a great leader. Yeah. I mean, Paul Newman was an asshole. He was a drunk. He lied and cheated, but he learned how to be a great leader. That's another, in movies, that's another journey that characters take they learn how to become leaders.
Makes me think about John Candy and Cool Runnings as kind of a.
I never saw that movie, but I've heard good things about it. Yeah.
You want to talk about a non-emotional movie that'll make you tear up at the end? That is a good one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sports movies, you could look at Gene Hackman and Hoosiers too.
Great leader.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Great movie.
And in that storyline, he's trying to help Dennis Hopper, who's an alcoholic, trying to help him become a leader, and an example for his son and stuff. Leadership takes all different forms, man. It comes in all different sizes. Donald Gooch wants to go bobsledding, thanks to you. Yeah, I've done some homework. What am I doing? All right. Any other leaders that you want to talk about, whether they're outside of the movie industry? Can you think? I asked you this, Sim, in the music industry. Any leaders you can think of?
In the music industry, it's a lot more difficult, right? Because a lot of time these people step forward with things that you would consider as being good leadership, and they get kind of shunned because that's not what you're supposed to be in the music industry. And it's very difficult because a lot of people would think like, oh, John Lennon was a great leader. It's like, no, he was a great innovator. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between a guy who is a great creative and a guy who's genuinely somebody that like you should look up to and want to be like.
Interesting.
You know?
Okay.
And it makes it very difficult because in these more creative lines, I don't think that leadership is necessarily a good quality in a creative person. It's very hard to say, to verbalize exactly the way I feel about it, but I feel like we're talking about numbers and you're asking me about colors to kind of try to articulate the way that my mind is going about this. To me, there's such vastly different things that it's hard to find because a lot of these artists want to be leaders, right? For example, I went to a concert 2 years ago, and one of the bands organized the concert, but they were far from the most popular band on the concert. And they tried to use their time on stage, not just as a platform to play their music, but as a platform to talk to the audience and to spread the word about, you know, what they felt the festival was all about and the message that they were trying to promote and put out there. And it fell very flat for me personally because I didn't relate to their music. I didn't mesh with them creatively, and I didn't really care about what they had to say because it was like, just shut up and get to the next band. So,
so you weren't interested in what they were doing from a leadership standpoint because creatively you didn't connect with them, and B, you thought they used that platform being up in the stage to spread a message about, perhaps it probably was about artists taking more control over their performances and stuff. That's what I'm guessing.
I mean, a big part of it was they were trying to spread like, you know, they were trying to spread positivity and like good things and like express that like music is an outlet and it's a place for people to feel safe and this, that, and the other thing. And it's not that I disagree with any of that. It's just that I felt like it was not the time nor the place to be doing it. I went to a music festival to see music be played.
To hear music.
I did not go to listen to a sermon.
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
It's a hard line to walk, especially because like some of these guys really are good leaders. They really are. You know, look at Nikki Sixx, for example.
Okay.
Nikki Sixx was the leader of Motley Crue. He was a piece of shit human being. And there's no real way to walk around.
No, it's true.
Know,
I mean, a lot of people in the music industry have been that way, where they're cutthroat, or cutthroat is a compliment. They were just evil people. They were thieves. They didn't care about anyone else other than themselves. In the music industry, and it's like the movie industry too, there's just a lot of narcissists, people who are just out for themselves. But I do think that there have been leaders in the music industry. I mean, from my youth, my era, Berry Gordy, the head of Motown, was a fucking leader. He created the Supremes, the Temptations, the Delphonics, and Michael Jackson 5, and so forth, and on and on and on and on. Go ahead.
There you go. If you want a modern one, look at Simon Cowell. Simon Cowell is a man who understood how to identify talent as well as coach these people into being presentable human beings and being responsible human beings so that they could take this talent and monetize it for themselves and create a living with their talent. I think that Simon Cowell is a great modern example.
Did he have health problems recently? I saw some pictures. It looks like he had a stroke recently or cancer.
Ooh, I am not familiar with
seen recent pictures of him. Check it out. It's like he doesn't.
I know he's back on America's Got Talent, and he looks healthy to me. But I'm not a big Simon Cowell guy. So
what about this guy, the mayor of Burlington Park?
Oh my God!
Yeah, the leader of the barroom.
I'm a hell of
great leader. Look at this. He's got a pocket watch.
I'm a great leader for about 20 minutes a week.
2 hours a week. Yeah.
What about our political leaders? Do we have political leaders nowadays?
Man, I'm not going there.
What about Elon Musk? Is he a leader to go after the big
What happened? He's gone. He got shut off. Elon shut him down. Man, what the heck? I would say yes, though. I mean, there he is. He back?
Generally speaking,
Elon shut him down. I didn't do anything.
But do you? So I was going to ask: do you appreciate what Elon is doing? He leads the government, right? And now he's complaining about the big beautiful bill, saying it's doing the opposite of what I was told to do, which is cut the budget. Is he being a leader, or is he just being a baby?
I don't think. Man, it's hard to explain that omnibus. I'm not going to pretend to explain it because of the philosophies are two different ones. You know, I love the idea of making government more efficient, but our government may be, like most governments of the world, too corrupt to ever stop grifting. However, Elon's drive to take man to outer space, I think, is incredible leadership. You know, to the space,
for the average man to go to outer space, right?
Yeah, SpaceX or putting I'm not sure if this is the greatest idea, but putting a robot in everyone's home that might end up killing us in our sleep. But anyways, that sort of innovation, the technology, and all that, to me is good leadership or great leadership, what you want to say. He adds tremendous value to the GDP of this country. You know, we're the leader in aerospace technology because of him. As far as taking every person to Mars, I don't think Aldo or I will be alive to see it, but maybe Zim,
maybe.
It's. But
I recently watched the movie The Martian with Matt Damon, and I felt that that's like a very realistic potential future for us, where it's like we're gonna slow roll the whole Mars thing, in the sense of like we're not just gonna send people there and do it. We're gonna send expeditions. We're gonna send teams. It's gonna be very much like Europe's colonization of the New World, 600 years ago, where it did not happen all at once. And then all of a sudden the boom came along about 300 years later. So that's just my thoughts about all that. I don't think colonizing the moon personally, J2K, will ever happen because there's no way to terraform the moon. Whereas there are potentially realistic and viable ways to terraform Mars to make it a more hospitable planet.
What do you mean by terraform?
Changing the atmosphere.
Environment.
Right.
Yeah.
Using human technology to change the environment in order to create breathable air, liquefied water, potable soil, things like that. So,
Foster says Mars blows. He was there once. You can tell from experience.
I believe it, man. Foster probably got so high up there one day he was all the way on Mars.
All right, guys. Any other leaders in any other aspects of life that you can think of that we should mention before we pull the plug on this episode?
Just the Podfather for me.
I'll tell you one thing about leadership, that the best leaders are people that enable everyone else in the organization, team, or whatever to be leaders themselves. Everyone has to take ownership of whatever project they are working. When John F. Kennedy went to NASA and he talked to the janitor, and the janitor asked him, "What is it you do here?" And the janitor says, "Well, we are making spaceships so that we can get to the moon." John F. Kennedy says, "Okay, he gets it. This guy who was swinging that mop 8 hours a day," this is probably not a true story, but it should be true. That guy who was swinging that mop 8 hours a day and helping to keep the floors clean at NASA, he understands the big picture. The reason that why he's here is because we want to win the space race with the Russians. And so everyone else, if they assumed some type of leadership for what they are doing, and with the Chicago Bears, it is Jaquan Brisker taking leadership over his own health and the play of his fellow safeties and defensive backs and so forth. With Joe Tooney, he's got one of the biggest leadership responsibilities, teaching these young guys how to get up to speed and have a championship mentality. On and on. It's not just on Ben Johnson. It's on all of us, and even us fans. You know, we need to, those of us who are doubters of the Chicago Bears, and Tooch and I have, again, like Zim has pointed out, we have more reason than most to be doubters of the Chicago Bears because of what we lived through. There you go.
The wheels are coming off.
The wheels keep coming off every fucking season. I mean, sometimes I'm surprised that Tooch is like agreeing with me. Yeah, this could be a great season. Like, Tooch is agreeing with me. He's usually warning me, get off the pedal.
It's because I think we have coaches that are competent.
I know, that's the thing.
So this coaching staff could make up even for a bad GM. I'm not saying we have a bad GM.
No, but that's a great point.
I think that this coaching staff could cover up a GM's mistakes fairly well.
Yes. And I think that's another aspect of leadership that is great. Is you make other people around you better.
Yeah,
right?
The ability to elevate those around you. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was the big difference for many years between Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson made everyone else on that basketball court better. Well, Michael Jordan was much more interested in making himself better. And then once he got it, he passed that ball to Steve Kerr, all of a sudden, Jesus, we're winning championships now.
And ironically, it came against Magic Johnson.
How about that?
92, 93 finals.
Guys, I could talk to you guys for another 2-3 hours, but I say you guys.
Next week we'll talk about a movie I saw. Then it was called Sinners.
Oh yes.
Maybe Aldo will have seen it by then. I don't know, but
I promise you that I will, and Zim will too. Zim, you're invited next week.
Okay.
I mean, if you like From Dusk Till Dawn, the movie, I think you'd really like Sinners.
I
don't
can't
know
wait
if
to see it.
anybody in the bar room saw it, but yeah, J2K is with me on that. I enjoyed it. I love the music too, man. The cameo at the end, Aldo, is fantastic.
I want to talk movies, but I want to see that movie first before you share your thoughts on it. I want to be on the same page.
Yep.
And I would love for Zim to see it as well.
Totally agree.
By the way, the next week I'm thinking about 2 shows next week. So let me know, because Jeff Agrest, who was booked for next Wednesday, contacted me today and said something's come up. Can we do Thursday? And I said, yeah, we could do Thursday. So it wasn't today, it was a couple of days ago. So I contacted Tooch, and he says we can move to Thursday. But then Tim Willis says, hey, I'm available next Wednesday. So I thought maybe we'll do 2 shows. On Wednesday, Tim Willis, Zim, Tooch, myself, if you're available, Tooch. And then on Thursday, we talked to Jeff Agrest, the media sports reporter from the Chicago Sun-Times. And so, Zim, you'd be more than welcome to quiz Agrest on his knowledge of sports media. So anyway, we'll work that out behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And
what about Tim couldn't do Thursday, huh?
Tim who?
Willis.
Oh, I can ask him. I can definitely ask him. Absolutely. I will definitely ask him. And Jeff Willis is his brother says that's 2 great movies, J2K, so I got to see them. What did J2K recommend here? Let's
Sinners and Dusk Till Dawn and Django Unchained.
Okay.
I know he was talking about that, but
there he goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dusk Till Dawn meets Django Unchained. That's a great description.
I went into Sinners not really expecting much. I know the Bears went to see it as a group. A lot of the Bears players went together in a big group.
It's a great
to see it at the theater. But was pleasantly surprised. And I love the music, man. The acting was fantastic. The one who plays Remick, Jack O'Connell, was really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jeff says that his brother Tim is available all week. Yeah, that's right. Tim told me he was on vacation next week, so he should be available Thursday. I'll reach out to him afterwards and try to move that so we'll only have one show. So hopefully, Zim, you're available on Thursday.
We will chat. I will find out for you.
Thank you, brother. All right, guys. I mean, it's like I don't want to leave. You know, is there anything else you want to say?
Let me see.
Yeah, I guess not.
Hold on. I might have seen something else that we could talk about. I rewatched Mission Impossible 7s because I want to go see 8.
Yeah,
my wife and I wanted her to take me for my birthday on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just see Mission Impossible 8. It's a 3-hour movie though, so we're trying to arrange. We're trying to arrange childcare. Yeah, 3 hours. So yeah, I know.
See, I think I was actually just thinking about this last night or a couple nights ago. I think that Hollywood movies, particularly these big extravaganzas, have gotten too long.
Yeah.
And what they should be doing is trying to make movies shorter, like they were in the 40s and 50s and 60s, where the average movie length was about 85 minutes.
Yep.
And that's where I think. And so a movie like Mission Impossible should perhaps be 2 movies.
Yeah.
You buy a ticket to see the first 85 minutes, and then you buy a ticket to see the second. And then in between, there's all sorts of other stuff, just like back in the old great movie days. There's cartoons, there's blah, blah, blah. But this, I have to sit down for 4 hours to see a fucking movie? No, my ass can't take that. By the way, Zach Sullivan says, I watched Pee-wee's Big Adventure yesterday after not seeing since a kid. It's a good movie. He enjoyed it. Now, have you guys seen the new HBO?
I started watching it. I was enjoying it. Yeah, very good. Yep.
It's good.
I didn't finish it yet.
I was just chatting with my friend last night, going through Netflix and Hulu and HBO and all that, saying, you know, hey, what's on here that you want to watch? What do I want to watch? And kind of going through, and I was like, this Pee-wee one, I heard it's good. I want to watch it.
Yes,
so
it's
definitely on my list.
I won't give anything away, but he did an interview with a producer about 2-3 years ago, and because the producer approached him about doing the documentary, and Paul Rubens always wanted to do a documentary about his life but he wanted complete control. And so the director and Paul Rubens are fighting about that while the fucking movie is being made, and he includes it in that because now the director has final cut because Paul Rubens passed away before the movie was done. And so there's this really kind of interesting dynamic, you know, the director's asking him off camera, do you trust me? And Paul Rubens is like, no, I don't trust you. I mean, I've seen some of your documentaries before, but why should I? It's fascinating. And his gay lifestyle was not familiar. I didn't know Pee-wee Herman was taking it up the ass, but apparently he was.
It didn't come out until very shortly.
He got busted at a porno theater.
Yes, they covered that in the movie. Yes.
But they never specified anything else about it, just that he got busted for public exposure in a porno theater.
Right. And you get the sense in the documentary that he really doesn't want to talk too much about the particulars on that. Like they never answered the question, did you have your penis out and were you jerking off? That's never answered. Yeah. But apparently he was.
What public figure would feel comfortable answering a question like that? Like,
or doing that, Zim, or doing that. Imagine being famous. Hey, I'm famous. I have a very, very famous and popular kids show on CBS on Saturday mornings, and now I'm going to go into this theater and I'm going to jerk off in front of strangers.
I'm going to ask you two both a very blunt question.
Okay, have I ever jerked?
Have I ever masturbated at a theater?
Have you ever been really horny and done something that you regretted when clarity came over you? Come on now.
Oh, of course.
We've all been there. It's human nature. Yep. Everybody crosses that line, and then when you come to in that clarity afterwards, you go, "What the fuck is wrong with me?"
But Zim, that's my point. I'm acknowledging that I did. I would go into the details. I will bare my soul, but he doesn't in the movie. He just kind of, vaguely talks about it. So, anyways,
I completely understand the embarrassment and not wanting to get into it. I'm not necessarily the same way myself, much like yourself, Aldo, but I understand how somebody may feel that way. That's all.
I wish we had Foster on the show. He says, "Ask me anything. I'm not famous," because I've got questions for you, Foster.
And Steve and me in the chat makes a great point. What the fuck else are you supposed to do in a theater showing movies like that? Like, wait, you're going there to enjoy the cinematic content? Like, come on.
There was one time.
That's why they went to private booths.
You're sitting there with your buddy. You're sitting there with your buddy going, "Hey, you think they used a Blackmagic 4000 or 8000 on this one? I really can't tell. You think that's a 32 millimeter zoom or where are we at on that?"
That's right. Quick story. This is 1979. Thank you, Tooch. This is 1979. I had just got a job downtown. And so I'm exploring downtown. And there's the Cine Stage Theater over on Dearborn and Lake. And they show pornographic movies. All right, I'm going to go in here and check this out. I walk into the movie theater. I'm, trying to be low key.
Everybody's jerking off.
I don't want anybody to see me. I go off to the far aisle. I sit down, and then once I've sat down, I notice 2 rows in front of me. Over into the far corner is an African American woman, and she is fucking going at it because all I heard, and I can see her arm going like this, but all I heard was. She was fucking masturbating up a storm, and so I'm thinking, should I go over there and get my dick sucked or something like that? And I was like, this is too fucking embarrassing, man. I'm gonna watch a little bit more of this movie before I leave. True story.
It goes to show, as long as I'm bringing up classic literature tonight with All Quiet on the Western Front, how about Native Son, written in 1940 by Richard Wright? There's a whole chapter in that book about exactly what we're talking about. Going into a theater. Anyway.
I read that book in high school, and you're right. There is a chapter about that.
We're all disgusting. All right. At the end of the day.
That's why we shouldn't be ashamed of it. It's stuff that we've done. And, I wouldn't talk about, I'm having dinner with some friends on Saturday. I'm not going to bring this up.
No. Now, when we start with the nightcaps, maybe it comes up. But
yeah, right.
At dinner, no, you don't talk about that at the dinner table. What the hell's the matter with you?
That's right. J2K says, I had an art history teacher who was asked to testify before Congress about whether porn movies were art or not. Stories he told about his research were hilarious. J2K, you got to tell us more than that. J2K is going to join us in about 2 or 3 weeks. He's going to help us break down the Dennis Allen defense. So he will have tape and analysis on that. But before we get to that, we're going to hear about his art history.
We're going to break down some other film with him. Huh?
That's right. Well, guys, Zim, I love it that you're here. I love the chemistry, and I want to let people know that our intent with the show, Tooch and I, is that we want to have more guests on. And so if you're interested in coming on to the show and being on with Tooch, myself, and Zim, and others, just send me an email at aldobarkeeper@gmail.com and let me know your interest. I do ask that you have a good audio system so that we can hear you in Wi-Fi or Ethernet, whatever it's called, so that we don't have digital breakup and so forth. We can have an unencumbered show.
We don't want you coming in here with Courtney Cronin's earbuds and microphone.
That's right. Can you believe that? That's still. Anyway.
She's probably up at Alice Hall using her phone,
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. We'll talk about Courtney Cronin and others when we talk about sports media, and Zim and I are going to have a debate about that, and also Tooch will, I'm sure, share his opinions about the sports media, their roles and responsibilities in covering the Bears, because that's always a fascinating topic for me.
Yeah.
All right,
I will say, if somebody wants to put together a cut up of that, a cut up for me before that, of some of these questions being asked in the more recent press conferences versus what they were asking about 10, 15 years ago, I think we will find some very, very interesting contrast there. And even more points if you can find the same guys asking questions. Some of these guys have been on the beat long enough that they've gotten comfortable. We'll
Yeah.
put it that way.
I agree with that. That's going to be fascinating to talk about because yes, and we should name names during this. I mean, this is Bear Their Souls, so we should be totally honest. Let's name names about guys that impress us, disappoint us, or we think that are just losers and shouldn't have the job.
And how about some guys who have really improved their game? Because I'll say there are some guys where I heard some of their first pressers and I was like, what a dumbass question to ask. And in more recent pressers, I'm like, oh, that's something I had never considered. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Yeah, that's a great idea. One of the things I will do some prep work on that and edit together examples, not only of this year, but also from years past, so that we can comment on that.
I would love to if I had time. I
If
appreciate
only we
it,
could have
Aldo.
gotten Patrick Finley to ask that question of Paul Rubens.
Nah, you're talking.
That would have been something.
Stephen Me brings up Mickey Rourke in Diner. Dick in the Box. Popcorn Box is my
great movie.
go-to movie at movie theater.
Yeah, great movie.
It is Diner. Who directed that? Come on, Tooch, Barry.
Was it Barry Levinson?
Levinson.
Nice.
And what a cast.
Yeah, great cast.
What a fucking cast.
Yep.
Zim, that's on your homework assignment.
I've got 49 movies on my watch list so far. Watch list is not one of them. Watch list. Sorry, Diner is not one of them.
Name a couple of movies that are.
So currently my watch list is it's just IMDb's top 100 movies of all time.
Oh, okay. I love that.
I want to work my way through it. I am at 51.
Some of those older movies.
Yeah, some of the older ones are going to be a slog for sure.
Yeah.
I'm at 51.
Okay.
Meaning I am more than halfway through. Some of the more notable ones on here, Reservoir Dogs, Braveheart, I've never seen before.
What?
Ooh, great
Yeah.
movie.
I've seen that like 50 times.
Alien. Never
seen
one.
Alien?
Excellent movie.
Damn,
a movie
fantastic.
A movie we alluded to earlier, Gladiator.
Okay. Zim, one of the
have you seen movies before?
Name one of the oldest movies on that list.
On this list, one of the oldest ones, The Great Dictator. That is one of the older ones for sure.
Yeah, I'd skip that one. There's just one scene to see, and it's on YouTube.
Paths of Glory.
Oh,
just talked about it. Yeah,
exactly. Just talked about that one.
Please watch that one.
Yes. Let's see.
Is Citizen Kane on there?
I've already seen Citizen Kane.
Yeah. Okay.
I did take some film classes in high school, so I have seen a lot of the more classic films.
Yeah, okay. Because I was going to tell you to skip Citizen Kane. I don't think it's aging well.
It's very interesting. It's artsy for its time period, but yeah, over time, a lot of that artistic integrity hasn't held up because it's just not relevant anymore.
Yeah, I just think it's boring.
The scene with the flash cut to the chicken, like what the fuck was that?
Yeah, exactly. Shit like that. It hasn't aged well. Good night, Donald. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I while from a film student standpoint, I recognize and appreciate all of the new things he introduced, he being Orson Welles, introducing that movie. The movie now, you don't really need to watch it. There's too many great movies. That one, just learn the basics of it. Great deep focus photography, blah, blah, blah.
Well, and that's how I feel about a lot of the Charlie Chaplin films on there. Overall, as long as you understand who Charlie Chaplin was like as an actor and his methodology, as well as his ability to act without speaking.
Yes.
Like you kind of cover a lot of his films.
I agree.
Because he told entire stories just with his body, which is just, it's something we haven't seen since.
What about
also what makes them a movie?
The Third Man.
That is on my list. I have not seen it yet.
See that one. I encourage you to watch that one. That's
I would say the most famous one probably on my list yet to see. And you're going to kill me for this one. It's two movies actually, part 1 and part 2, The Godfather.
I knew he was going to say that. Tooch, You're Italian. Go.
I don't know what to say. I'm speechless.
Just shoot him in the back.
Yeah.
Put a bullet in the back of his head.
Yeah, I was struck by when watching Sinners last night. I was struck by the thought of, and it was filmed with a digital camera in ultra high definition. And I watched it in ultra high definition. I was like, this looks 3-dimensional, man. It is so hyper realistic.
Awesome.
Looks fantastic. Because I had to. Our TV in the lounge burned out, so my wife and I went to Costco and grabbed another. It was like $225 for a brand new 55-inch ultra high def, like so cheap right now. Back in the day you'd pay like $2,000. But watching Sinners, I'm like, man, the depth of colors and hyper realism on it was fantastic, and it still had that movie feel. So I was wondering, how, whether film shot on film will make a comeback again, or if this is the new standard. Will people have a longing to see something shot on film again?
Yeah, it's all artistic preference at this point in time. There are modern movies still shot on Super 35, and there are other films that are shot with the most high-tech cameras you can get. And once you put them on a screen that big and clean them all up digitally, they look identical. Because in the end, that's what actually affects it all. It's the after process, it's the post processing with all the digital effects that we're adding.
Yeah, if you have an ultra high definition television to watch Sinners in,
yes,
it's so
I do have a 4K
crystal
TV,
clear.
which let me tell you, that step from 1080 for anybody who hasn't made it, I don't know who hasn't made it at this point in time, but that step from 1080 to 4K is amazing. What I would like to do now is take the step from Ultra HD into OLED. I don't know that I have the bank account for that yet. But the other one that I've done recently is I converted my computer monitor from a regular 16:9 to a 21:9 ultra widescreen. And watching movies on this, that are shot in that 21:9 aspect ratio, it is very immersive. Very immersive. If you have the opportunity to watch something on a 21:9 screen, I highly recommend it. It's really, it reminds me a lot of when we initially made the change from 4:3 to 16:9, where all of a sudden your entertainment felt so much more immersive. Well, now your peripherals even being taken up by the film. It's just like,
OLED, I think I want to say the first time I saw a movie shot entirely on digital was Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy, and I was wasn't sure if I liked it because it was so different. It was like watching a play, being at a play and stuff. But now it's like kind of the standard,
It really is.
It is, and to me, it's unfortunate because I feel like we've lost a lot of artistic value that we had in a lot of those movies, especially when you look at The Lord of the Rings in particular. I literally just had this discussion last week with some of my coworkers in the sense of the way that they had to integrate both special effects and makeup effects. Whereas now they're just like, oh, we'll just do it all digitally. And some of it looks amazing in the Lord of the Rings case with the Hobbit, the gold coming off the dragon as he flies out of the mountain. That is amazing. And the entire scene of the fight over the lake, incredible. Absolutely great. The rest of the movie kind of falls short. No, I take that back. The Goblin King still gives me the heebie-jeebies and it's kind of gross. But again, the rest of that movie, the White Orc looked like the most fake thing I've ever seen. Whereas you look at the original Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Uruk-hai are so captivating and convincing. And the orcs themselves, the goblins, they're so ugly and realistic because it really is. It's makeup. It's not
practical
special effects. Yes. So I completely agree with you in that sense that it feels very much like we're just watching people on a soundstage.
I didn't know how to react when I saw Hobbit in the theater. I was like, especially like the second movie, it just looked so like video cassette, like but amped, amped up,
interesting,
But now it's like it's hard to tell,
I once, many years ago, this was maybe 25 years ago, I went to a movie theater where they were showing a demonstration of what a 70 millimeter print of a movie look like alongside a digital projector.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was very fascinating. We had a lot of technical guys talking about the pixels and all this technical shit that just went over my head. But the bottom line was, I couldn't fucking tell the difference.
Yeah.
And so when Quentin Tarantino says, I will never shoot anything on digital video, I want to shoot only on 70 millimeter film, which is basically IMAX nowadays. I say to him, you know what? I think 99.9% of the audience is like me. They wouldn't fucking be able to tell if that's fucking, digital.
It's a lot easier to edit the movie in digital.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You know?
Yes, indeed.
It's the same argument for music now. The difference between digitally mixing and mastering things and then pressing them on vinyl.
Yes.
It's like
yeah,
you're still getting the analog sound when you replay it, but it was recorded digitally, it was mastered and mixed digitally. Like, are you really truly getting any greater quality than you would have ordinarily off of a CD?
Yep.
Like, yeah, you're definitely getting higher quality than streaming, but that's a whole other conversation for a whole other time. But anyway,
Stephen Me makes a good point. Dark Crystal over anything that's
Such a
done
weird
in
movie,
CGI.
but-
Dark Crystal is a weird movie.
Yeah.
But any of that stuff, even hand-drawn animation to me has a special place. I'm not saying that computer animation for animated movies like Monsters Inc. and so forth, that those don't have a place in our creative landscape, but so still does hand-drawn animation. Yes, it's flatter looking and so forth, but there's still some beautiful stuff, especially with anime being done with hand-drawn animation. I hope it never goes away.
it goes into the same thing that I was talking about last time I was on the show with the AI stuff. There's certain things that a human soul can create that machines can't. And it makes it so much more of a pure art form when the human soul is the root cause of all of it.
I hear you 100%. A topic that I'm sure we will revisit in the future, because AI is a topic that's at the headlines now, and we have to, in my opinion, we have to be careful of just how much we're allowing it into our lives and what the government should potentially do about it. Something that I'd love to talk with you guys and any other
we regulate it, but because other countries aren't going to regulate it, and they're going to be way ahead of us.
Exactly.
That's the whole idea behind whatever some of the legislation.
That's part of the danger of it.
The race with China for AI dominance.
I tell you what, at the very least, I would love for there to be a law, and I hate to impose laws on people, but if I am watching something that is artificially created, AI created, I'd like to know
ahead of
that
time.
I am, or either ahead of time or over the picture or under the picture, some type of identification. I want to know if the woman that I'm jerking off to is real or it was created by some nerd.
I can't remember who I had this discussion with. Was it us last week? That'll probably make AI will make porn actresses and actors irrelevant soon, because they'll never live up to the ideal of a perfect AI creation that's hyper realistic.
But there will still be purists like
there'll be purists
who will say, "No, I want the real thing."
There'll be some purists out there and stuff, but I mean, AI could probably do some comparable version to that as well.
Yes, indeed.
But AI replacing white collar jobs is definitely a concern. What are all these people going to do when their jobs are replaced?
Hey, Tooch, it looks like the "fuck your fist" motto is starting to grow. T-shirts coming soon, hats coming soon, dildos coming soon.
Fish-shaped dildos.
That's right. This could be big, Tooch.
Well,
we share.
I would expect it to be pretty big.
All right, Sim, you want to shout out anybody?
Nobody in particular, but one thing I will shout out, physical media, right? Going hand in hand with what I was just talking about, and something we've been talking about all night with consuming media. Consume it off of a physical platform versus a digital platform, and you will be amazed at the higher quality. Watch a Blu-ray instead of streaming a movie. Listen to a CD instead of streaming it on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. You will be amazed at the sound quality, and it's more so to do yourself a favor. And in addition to that, physical ownership. You actually own the thing. You're not just renting it. You're not just borrowing it. That is yours to use and use whenever you want, rather than just whenever Apple or Spotify or Netflix says you can.
Yeah.
Physical media is becoming more and more important in today's modern world, where everything seems to be a rental or a subscription. So,
yeah.
That's awesome, Sim.
Subscription service is killing everything.
And the thing that kind of tips that off is the release of the Switch 2 here in about 15 minutes.
Black Mirror does a great riff on that.
It absolutely does.
Subscription service with
I gotta check that out.
with Rashida Jones as the star of that one.
I love her.
Yep,
I love her.
Yes, wonderful episode. So, yeah.
Barroom Babe of the Day, Aldo, can we do?
Yes!
Anna de Armas. Woo!
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, Barroom Babe of the Day.
Dan Aguirre's
Dan Aguirre favorite. Yeah, he loves it.
Indeed.
Zim will have to give us our Barroom Babe of the Day.
Next week it's you, Zim.
Okay. I have a feeling we're going to have very different tastes, but
I love variety. Just don't bring a trainee here.
Can it be my wife? I feel like I'm going to get in trouble if it's not my wife.
I hear you. Wives are
tell her not to watch the show.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, trust me, she doesn't.
Tooch, any shout outs or last words?
No, I'm just working on People Magazine and stuff. So that's where I got that. Anna de Armas will be in an upcoming issue. I forget which one. So,
gosh, I wish I knew you 20 years ago when I had a job and we would get People Magazine into the office. And so that was the $5 bet. Everybody threw $5. Who's going to be on the cover of this week's People Magazine?
You could have had an inside source.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One
I just finished, was it Monday? It was there's a Prince Harry and King Charles.
Yeah,
cover, and then Olivia Munn is the other cover. Two covers this week. So yeah.
What's going on?
She's battling some health issue. I don't remember what. I didn't read the story, but she's recovered though. She's recovered.
Oh, good. She recovered as soon as she left Aaron Rodgers.
I was going to say, was her medical condition dating Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. Right.
Well, I want to shout out my wife because we're going through a home renovation project, and my wife, I love her, but she stresses out over every fucking detail. I mean, a 2.5 hour long discussion about the
She's home remodeling Ben Johnson.
Worse than that, bro. So it's like, and I love her, and I understand. I always admire people who are sticklers for details, just like Ben Johnson. I admire that very much. But sometimes it comes to the point of your health, man. You're just worrying so much, and you're waking up at 3:00 in the morning. No, it should be inspirational beige, not the other color. It's like, get away from that.
This is the difference between men, a fundamental difference between men and women, although.
Yep. And I'm learning a lot. Like she'll ask me my opinion. And like today, she asked me my opinion. Out of what color should the outlets be? Should they be egg colored or off-white? Off-white? Yeah. And I'm like, I really don't care. And then she throws me this look like,
how could you not care?
Exactly.
Yep, I've been there.
And the reason I don't care is because I'm afraid if I say something that is opposite of what she's thinking, then all of a sudden I'm going to get that other look. Why? It's like, please, I just want to go to bed.
It's like, just be like, it's got to match the trim.
Yeah, right.
Something like that. So.
Oh my gosh, it's been and at least 3-4 more weeks of that. But God bless her, and I really appreciate all her hard work into making our home beautiful. All right, guys. Thank you, Tooch. Thank you, Zim. Great show tonight, and thank you everyone who joined us live in the chat
room.
Those of you who will watch on demand later, thank you for watching. Please share the show with others. And thank you, Mr. Shorty, for the $20 donation.
Man,
we love you.
We didn't have Matthew Fochese here tonight.
Yeah,
I wonder if he's okay. He's usually throwing us a cup of coffee or two.
That is true.
I wonder if he's okay.
I hope he is. I'll tell you one
He
thing.
might just be out getting the Nintendo Switch at a midnight release party.
Oh, okay. Yep. I know that. I heard they have Skyrim now for the Switch. Holy
Really?
crap. Yeah. I know.
Let's see. A lot of people have been posting stuff. Great show, guys. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Ann. Thank you, everyone. We will see you all next week, either on Wednesday or Thursday. Just follow us on all the social media platforms. You'll find out.
Right.
And the best way, of course, to stay on top of stuff is to subscribe to the Raw Room Network channel. With that, I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.